Out of the gates and ready to go. Hot Mic with Hutton Withrow is underway. The Thursday edition has arrived. 6th and Peabody, our location, with Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. Glad you're with us. Armando Salguero will join us from OutKick.com. That's coming up in 20 minutes. The very latest across the NFL, including Von Miller, where a warrant has been issued for his arrest earlier today. We will get the very latest there on the Bills pass rusher. One big thing on every NFL game still to come, plus Anwar Richardson from Orange Bloods, covering all things Texas Longhorns. A lot going on in Austin as they play for the Big 12 championship. Chad, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Hutton. I got to be honest, did not know what day it was until you just said that it's a Thursday on the show.
And that means?
You started to say it, and I was thinking to myself, is it Wednesday? Is it Thursday?
It means the weekend is here.
It's Thursday, and yes, it doesn't mean that the weekend the artist will perform on today's show, but it does mean that the weekend has arrived for our purposes.
Thursday Night Football,
welcome,
Cowboys
everyone.
And Seahawks.
Welcome to the weekend.
This evening. Welcome back, Aaron Rodgers, to the practice field, at least in some capacity. The Jets quarterback returning in Week 13, ahead of schedule, just like he said he would. You can call, Chad, Aaron Rodgers, I think, by and large, is viewed as one or the other. He's either an attention whore or a free thinker. He's the MVP quarterback or he's the COVID vaccine denier. Packers arsonist or Jets savior. And as soon as he went down 4 plays into the season, the vast majority of groupthink media jumps on social media. And what are they talking about? They're saying, oh, that's it. That's it. He's going to be 40 when he comes back. He sucked last year in Green Bay. He just ruptured his Achilles. And 4 snaps in, he may not even want to play in 2024. And Rodgers is the type of guy who, if he wants to give you the middle finger, he's not going to beat around the bush with it. He'll just give you the middle finger. But in this case, he's absolutely doing that by returning to practice when he has. He's not cleared for contact yet, but he's got 21 days now, 20 days, if in fact he was going to return. The Jets aren't in that position. But, I mean, he doesn't have to do very much more to prove the media wrong in this case. He's returning on the field. He's got, a 12-week rehab that continues. But an injury that's normally 9 to 12 months in recovery time is now, with him, potentially returning, on his mind, on schedule, and everyone else's mind well ahead of schedule. Right after his injury, though, he responded to the groupthink by saying, hey, give me all the doubts. He said, give me all the predictions, and then watch what I do. And then we watched him storm back. But now, the immediate reaction after he's done that is, oh, he doesn't really love his teammates. He loves attention. That's why he's doing this. That was the perception that I had of him whenever he ended his tenure in Green Bay, but not now. I mean, how can you criticize his love for the Jets organization based on the day he got there to right now? How can you think that his motive is unclear? He's expected to go win a Super Bowl in New York. And while he's not taking the first team reps, he's getting reps whenever he needs to. He's around the team with guys like Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Tyler Conklin, others. Nathaniel Hackett, Robert Saleh, Zach Wilson. And there's still 6 games left. That is an eternity in the NFL. And 79 days later, Chad, he's back on the field after injury. And we know what he meant even after he went down, where somehow the Jets, at some point this year, were 4-3. And now they have 20 days to determine his roster status. Playoff contention is going to play a big factor, and right now they're far from it at 4-7. But the immediate groupthink of, oh, he's doing this for the attention. He's doing this to prove a point and to prove all the doubters wrong. And if they were in playoff contention right now, I think he'd fast-track it more than what potentially could be. He'd always circled the Christmas Eve game against Washington. That is exactly when this time frame is set to go into effect, where they have to make a decision on injured reserve for the rest of the year or active roster. I applaud him for what he's done because I think those that hate Rodgers, and there are certainly those who do, are trying to look for any reason to nitpick about this entire process, which has been anything but bad. And he's been great for the New York Jets.
Hutton, you laid it out there well with depending on your viewpoint, your worldview, Aaron Rodgers is a bad teammate or a great teammate or a bad employee or a great employee,
right.
Or he knows everything about Big Pharma or he knows nothing about Big Pharma. And people allow those opinions to shape what they think of Aaron Rodgers.
You're their Team Kelsey or Team Rodgers,
the quarterback, right? Yeah. Here's Aaron Rodgers, what he is. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I view Aaron Rodgers. Hall of Fame quarterback that, to my knowledge, has not had a ton of guys over the course of his career claim he's a bad teammate or a bad leader when he's in a locker room and when he's on a team. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback that I watched with my own two eyes the reaction of the New York Jets locker room when he arrived. He was their Messiah, and they treated him as such. And they were blown away that he had humanity about him, that he would speak to them, that he would joke with them. Hey, here's the great Aaron Rodgers, and oh, by the way, he's pretty damn cool. I like hanging out with him. Let's go to a Broadway musical with him. I watched it on Hard Knocks.
He looked 29
HBO.
instead of 39 all of a sudden.
The guy de-aged. He's Benjamin Button. He went back 20 years in his career. He's refreshed. He's renewed. He's ready to go. So all the other BS about Aaron Rodgers, I think he's funny. There are people that don't think he's funny. They probably think he's dangerous or whatever. Those people are stupid too. Here's what you need to know about Aaron Rodgers. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He is unbelievably good at his profession. And he is someone who does not wreck a locker room. He's a guy that other guys, other dudes, other football guys gravitate towards and don't push away from. I watch how he interacts with other players on other teams right after a game's over. There's even a scene with that in the latest Hard Knocks with the Dolphins and Raheem Mostert talking to him. You can tell he has the respect of everyone that's in football. He's got the respect of his locker room. He's got the respect of this team and every other team. This is not about being selfish or wanting the attention or the glory or anything else. I do think part of it is about proving his critics wrong. Absolutely. And every great athlete, every Hall of Famer, and that's what Aaron Rodgers will be, has been someone who revels in proving critics wrong. That's part of the business. It's part of the game. It's part of being a competitor. Aaron Rodgers is no different there. And if you're viewing it from any other worldview other than that, then you're looking at it all wrong.
Yeah, he keeps receipts, right?
Yeah.
And can part of it be because he loves attention? Sure. So does Travis Kelce, But the perception's different for those that just immediately jump with the reaction. Oh, he's coming back now. I would view this way different if this were week 17, but not in week 13. Not in week 13. He could have waited a little bit longer and seen what the record was coming up. I believe they have the Falcons this week. Maybe the Jets do. Brutal stretch down. Again, I don't think they're doing anything. But we've seen crazier things. The Bills are all of a sudden a 500 team again. Jets are 4-7. They're not making the postseason. But Rodgers is doing some things around the Jets organization that is great going into an offseason where he's going to repeat what he just did this past offseason. Chad, so back and forth, I've seen mixed reaction to Bobby Petrino and the hire for Arkansas as their new offensive coordinator, but of course old head coach. Sam Pittman, well, I know yesterday we had the conversation of, hey, think outside the box, bring in someone new. Sam Pittman's got to save his job. And this is exactly what he's doing, right? He's signing up a former guy he worked for to come in and make sure that offense is right, regardless of what's going on.
Yeah, it's exactly what he's doing. Here's what's weird about this. Bobby Petrino, we know about all the controversy at Arkansas and what went down there and why he lost his job as the Razorbacks head man. Rehabilitated himself to some extent at Western Kentucky as a head coach, did a good job. Then rehabilitated himself. You thought he was going to some more at Louisville. He did have a Heisman Trophy winner in Lamar Jackson, but didn't win to any extent, ends up getting fired at Louisville. Came offensive coordinator at different spots. Now he's back and he's being treated as a savior. Arkansas just may be one of those random outpost type jobs. And I don't say that to diss Arkansas, but that's what it is within the SEC, where this may actually work. I'm watching Duke Arkansas basketball last night, and they do a cutaway shot of Bobby Petrino and Sam Pittman sitting in Bud Walton Arena, just yucking it up, having a big old time. I think having a couple of Trulies during the game, I believe is what they were having.
What
Some
flavor?
sort of hard seltzer, probably kiwi, of watermelon.
Wow.
I don't know. Don't know the flavor, but they were yucking it up, having a big old time. And I'm watching this and watching Hog fans, pig suey them and walking by and patting them on the back. And I'm thinking, you know what? This may actually work in Fayetteville. This may be the random thing that actually works. I'd feel better about it had Bobby Petrino done what Bobby Petrino was hired to do for Jimbo Fisher, and that was save his job.
Yeah.
He couldn't do that. Now he's going to Arkansas, another SEC West spot. Well, I guess divisions don't even matter anymore, but another spot in the former SEC West to try to save another head coach's job in Sam Pittman. But Arkansas and A&M are two very different jobs, and this may just be crazy enough to work in Fayetteville. But if it's going to work, they got to pay some money to replace KJ Jefferson, who's leaving in the transfer portal. It's going to be all about the quarterback now at Arkansas and finding a fit for what Bobby Petrino wants within that offense. They've got the money at Arkansas to figure it out and do it and to pay for that guy. Maybe it's a Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina. I don't know who that quarterback is. Riley Leonard's suddenly available, and everyone's saying either Notre Dame or Auburn for him. Maybe Arkansas can get in the mix also in the sweepstakes for a Riley Leonard. Regardless, if they find the right quarterback, Hutton, I think Arkansas and Fayetteville is a place just crazy enough to where this might work.
So, when you say it might work, what is the expectation there? I would ask the same thing about Texas A&M or Mississippi State, right? We know the expectation at Kentucky. They're thrilled to have Mark Stoops and know that he's coming back and he wants to be there, giving him a raise. Same with Kiffin at Ole Miss. Doesn't have that big win there, but he's making over $9 million a season. What does he have to do to keep his gig? And what do we need to see from Petrino offensively in order to keep that staff intact? Because it was awful this year. But as far as fit and culture, I don't know if you can find a better coach. I would have said that, by the way, about Coach O at LSU. Same thing. And a year and a half after he wins the national championship, he's out the door, paid to not coach instead of try to get them back to a title. New schedule. I'm trying to see their cross opponents too next year.
I've got it, Hutton.
Okay.
And you always say it's not about if you lose, it's how you lose.
Right.
A lot of times. So a lot of this depends on how they look. But an improved offense at Arkansas where they're putting up some points, and I think getting to a bowl game next year could be enough to save his job. Why? In the non-conference, they play at Oklahoma State in week 2. That obviously going against Mike Gundy, not going to be easy. They get Arkansas, Pine Bluff, UAB, and Louisiana Tech. Those should be 3 wins. Then you got to eke out 3 wins at Oklahoma State, Texas A&M in Jerry's World on neutral site, LSU at home, Ole Miss at home, Tennessee at home, at Auburn, at Mississippi State, at Missouri. You get to 6-6 with that schedule, maybe a 7-5. I think you're showing enough progress, especially if the offense is improved, where you keep your job, where Sam Pittman keeps his job, and you move forward at Arkansas. I think anything less than that, I think if they miss a bowl game again, they're all probably gone at Arkansas. And it's a 1-year reprise for Bobby Petrino in his return to Fayetteville.
Yeah, and think about it. So last year they win against Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or was that 21? No, that was last year, I believe. And the year prior, they went an 8-win season. Was it a 9-win season with KJ Jefferson there?
Yeah, he had a good first 2 years, I want to say, where
right
they
out of the gate
over-delivered, where everyone was high on.
Yeah, and so I think maybe that changes the perception of where they could be. I think they finished 3rd in the West that year when that's considered maybe the ceiling of the high water mark. I don't think you have to do all that much. You're right. Just make it to one of the 30,000 bowl games across the country that are about to be announced on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, get to 6 wins. That's a tough schedule. I think that just shows improvement. They're 4-8 at the end of this year, I think, is their final record.
Yeah, but you're right. That it's not.
By the way, they're 4-8, and they won at Florida also this year and still had 4 wins. So I think showing progress, wins, losses, getting to a bowl game, and just how it looks, how the offense has improved, that's going to determine whether or not they're back. And whether or not Bobby Petrino was a success.
Speaking of the Razorbacks, the college hoops last night, Arkansas beating Duke. Home atmosphere. It's fantastic.
It was
start
great
to the college season for them.
North Carolina had a great atmosphere too, where
Yeah.
they put up over 60 in the first half against Tennessee and end up with 100. And the Tennessee scores 92, 100-92 was the final of that game, a crazy one. The ACC-SEC challenge, I think, was a success. I still think it lacks the pizzazz of even the former SEC Big 12 challenge that happens in late January, because it's still a struggle to pull people into college basketball right now at the end of November. But these games were great. It was 7-7. I think they perfectly split it. SEC, ACC finished 7-7 in this competition.
It's so much better than what it was, though. I think the portal has really changed my viewership of early college hoops. I don't like the fact that the portal is as busy as it is every year for college football. In basketball, though, man, it has really leveled out the playing field. And I'm not even talking about just the ACC, SEC challenge here. I think we're building off of what was a fantastic NCAA tournament. So here's hoping it sticks with that. That they're also scheduling tougher opponents, because it's not going to really hurt you as much as a loss would to a non-Power 5 come turning time for seeding purposes. Coming up, Armando Salguero jumps into the mix. We'll preview Thursday Night Football and discuss Von Miller and the legal situation. But straight ahead, Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow across the OutKick Network rolls on.
The rest of the world doesn't know this. I have a day drinking day that I have at the owners meeting, and it's Mike Tomlin and I throw it, and it's only for head coaches and GMs. No other media is allowed to come, and the media over time has given us respect. Like, this is Glazer's thing, let's not go there. And it's usually Tomlin and I and upwards of 30 other guys. It's crazy. But what I also do is I always tell Tomlin and whoever the older coaches are, tell these young cats what's about to come across your desk, because they have no idea. Like, the craziest stories in the world, and you're not prepared for it. Because when you're in that position, you really find out how messed up everybody is. Like, it's not just your players, it's your coaches, it's your scouts, it's your GMs, it's the person in the cafeteria, it's everything. And then it's their family and the issues families are calling. And oh my God. And listen, these cats didn't go to school for this. They didn't go to school to be a psychiatrist. Right? They went into coaching to coach. Right. But when you're a head coach or a GM, that's part of the job. The other part is really, it all lands on your shoulders. So I make Tomlin and all the other guys tell the craziest stories that have come across their desk in the early days to prepare the new guys.
Well, and also probably to help normalize everybody else, right? Because we all probably live our lives thinking, oh my God, no one could understand, or no one life is as crazy as mine, or as messed up as mine. And then you hear someone else's story, you're like, wait a second, you have me beat. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple, and I can't tell them on this, that are there are we go to them. We usually start these fun days off with these couple stories that there's no way I'll ever repeat, but they are like, Charlie, if you said to me, hey, if I told you any of them, you'd say, come on, you made this up. There's no way this could be possible. And the craziest thing about the NFL is that anything's possible. When we did Ballers, people were like, come on, that stuff doesn't happen in the NFL. I'm like, this is a G-rated version of what happens in the NFL. Are you kidding me?
Okay, you just took me to literally the best segue, because something I remember you saying, and I remember you saying it a few times, the NFL is truly the greatest reality show in the world.
Can't make it up.
And that is what you're talking about, is a testament to exactly why. I mean, there's all these stories that happen, and they're not scripted stories.
Yeah. Look at the Raiders this week. They fired their head coach and general manager at 10 o'clock at night and put in ex-Giant linebacker Antonio Pierce to run the team. Like, look at last year with the Colts. They put in Jeff Saturday. Like, you can't make it up, right? So it's just like it's great because even for me, like I said, with these things, like, I think I've seen it all. There was something that happened this year. I said, man, we've seen it all, and then this happened. I don't remember I can't remember what it was.
If you think about it, just
I can't remember your thought, what it was. But like, man, we've seen everything, and then this thing popped up just when you thought you've seen everything, and you really like, that's the thing. If and I've been around, by the way, this is my 30th year, right? Is that, I don't know. Yep. 31st year. It's my 31st year. My 20th year at Fox. I started covering the league for the New York Post in 95. So that would make it like, but I started earlier in 93. So that's 31 years. So 95, was it 29 years covering the league. Yeah. So I've seen it all. I've been around. I think I've seen it for the most part. The stuff that's been reported and stuff that hasn't been reported. And yet every year there are still things that surprise me.
Hot Mike with that, with our rolls on here on the OutKick Network. Glad you're with us. 6th and Peabody, our location with EHA Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. Chat about this. Bronny James cleared to play.
I saw that.
Just over 4 months ago, suffered cardiac arrest, and he'll be back on the court, cleared to play for USC.
It's good news.
Remarkable.
Hope everything goes well for him, health-wise, and we get to see the son of a Hall of Famer get after it in the Pac-12 at USC.
Yep, returning to practice, and will be playing soon after. Armando Salguero joins us. You can catch his great work at OutKick.com, covering all things National Football League. Armando, great to see you. And, of course, the 5 spot you can check out there, too, twice a week at OutKick.com with Donovan McNabb as well, which is a huge hit. Good to see you.
I've been so looking forward to this appearance this week.
Let's go.
I've been so.
Let's get after it here. So Josh Dobbs
discussing Minnesota Vikings football.
Four turnovers for Josh Dobbs. Armando, your thoughts?
We now know the floor.
Is the Dobbs experiment over, or did we just see the floor and now we know he can only go up from here?
Well, that is true. It can only get better from here because obviously the Pastronaut, he got grounded.
Yes, he did.
You know what? Again, there's the earth on which we all live. And when guys, take off suddenly, unexpectedly in the NFL, we can always be guaranteed of the fact that if they have a history in the NFL and they are something during that history, they will return to earth with a regression to mean and be the people who they've been before. Look, in the past, there have been players like a Larry Little, who I think got cut by a couple of teams, or a Bob Kuchenberg that got cut by a couple of teams, and they went on to great heights. Larry Little's case, he was a Hall of Famer. But guess what? That was 50 years ago when scouting wasn't the same, when, coaching staffs had 6 guys on it. It was a different NFL. Nowadays, personnel departments don't miss nearly as often. They miss a lot, but not nearly as often as they did in the 60s and the 70s. And so that's the reason that we don't see guys just suddenly, be thrusting onto the scene and, oh my gosh, we never knew that this guy was a star. No, that doesn't happen very often anymore.
Kurt Warner would like a word, but other than that, yeah. What is Nick Mullins in this league, by the way? Well, what is he going to show for the Vikings? Because I do think he's probably going to end up being the starter now that Justin Jefferson's coming back and he's healthy.
I don't know who the starter is going to be. I mean, you're gonna ride with Josh Dobbs, and he's the guy, and now he has a bad game and he's done. Okay. And Nick Mullen is what?
I don't want to do that, by the way. I want Dobbs to continue starting. I'm saying when O'Connell comes out and says we're going to start the guy that works best with Justin Jefferson, I don't think that's a great vote of confidence for the guy who hasn't played with him yet.
Sounds like
right?
Justin Jefferson made the call.
And hasn't practiced with him.
That's fair. By the way, I was still on the Kurt Warner thing. When did he play? Did he, when was his last year? Was it 2004?
I don't know. He wants us to think that he keeps getting calls to come back and play. I mean, there are plenty of backups there that could.
When did the guy you reference play?
In the 70s.
Okay.
In the 60s.
All right. So I can reference someone who played in the 90s and 2000s.
No, that's my point.
Yeah.
That teams don't miss like that anymore. And you're going back 20 years.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's different.
You're right. We are seeing so many backups right now, and the offense was down prior to seeing the backups in. There's a lot of bad quarterback play right now, Armando, and it's not. I think the league will start to push 9 of the 32 teams are having a backup quarterback start last week, or here's how many teams have played 3 quarterbacks this season. I watched September and October just like you did, and it wasn't good then either.
You're absolutely right, because we had guys like Baker Mayfield, as the hope of the franchise following Tom Brady. I don't know. Obviously Kyler Murray wasn't starting at the beginning of the season, and he wasn't, all that great before his third stringer started the season. So there's a reason why these guys make all this money, right?
Yeah.
There's very few of them. I would say we should do the exercise at some point. There's maybe 14 great to very good NFL quarterbacks. It's not 32. Can we agree on that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you're right.
And I think you're spot on, Armando, with it. They're not missing on some star quarterback, right? That's waiting out there, that's been sitting on the bench somewhere. And I'm not claiming Josh Dobbs is a star in the league, but I do think Josh Dobbs has shown maybe he's better than the very bottom of the league for some team as a starting option at some point. Maybe he can be a below average starting NFL quarterback, right? My question would be, quality of quarterbacks coming out of college, I think, are an issue. And college offense and development, like Tom Brady talked about, probably an issue. But I also don't know that I'm ready to say everyone across the league, because I have this question a lot. Can this team do better than this guy as the backup? Can some team do better than Tim Boyle? Isn't there someone out there that they could develop that's got more talent that could do a better job? What do you think overall about the league's ability to evaluate not the top tier guys that are no-brainers, but those guys that are second or third behind someone else that if pushed into duty could do something?
Yeah, that's where the quality of personnel departments come in, because, for example, you have the Detroit Lions. Their number 2 guy is a former NFL starter and a former first round or second round draft pick. So, but he's not playing, and we're not hearing anything about him because why? Oh, because Jared Goff is playing well. And oh, by the way, their third stringer is Herndon Hooker, who's probably better than, or at least a better prospect than Boyle. I mean, seriously, Mr. Pick 6 Hail Mary.
Yeah, or Trevor Siemian.
Or yeah,
just going through them. Yeah.
And Trevor Siemian, by the way, was not employed at the beginning of the year. He's a guy that they brought in because there was an emergency. So what I'm saying is there are actually personnel departments who have been lucky and their starter is still playing and they have viable backups, whereas teams that are a mess, like the Vikings, the Jets, even the Giants, even though, they've got this going on.
Yeah.
Tommy DeVito, baby.
He's got more touchdown passes than the first overall pick in Bryce Young. Yeah.
What a story.
Crazy. Hey, the story out of Buffalo, and really was down in Texas, with Von Miller, warrant issued for his arrest. They want him to turn himself in. over a alleged assault of his pregnant girlfriend, longtime girlfriend, that apparently took place yesterday or last night with the Bills, I believe, on their bye week. What's the latest here? And just based on the statements from police, this does not look good. In fact, the assault of a pregnant woman is a third-degree felony.
Yeah, and from an NFL standpoint, I would remind you, the NFL is obviously monitoring the situation, and I would remind everyone that the NFL doesn't have to wait until there is an adjudication on the issue to make a decision on a player. They can very easily, tomorrow, if the facts warrant, suspend Von Miller for violating the personal conduct policy, because even an arrest on something is a violation of the personal conduct policy. So it's a bad situation, obviously, for the young woman involved. It's a terrible situation for Von Miller for multiple reasons, and the NFL, which hates bad publicity like this, and domestic violence is one of those, just the worst of the worst type offenses. I wouldn't be surprised if Von Miller is suspended.
Cowboys tonight, they're hosting the Seahawks. I've been tabling our discussion, and this is a good time to bring it up. I realize they're back-to-back seasons of 12 wins, then they've been put out of the postseason by San Francisco each year. Seahawks tonight, Eagles coming up, then the Bills, Dolphins, Lions. It's a schedule where they're going to have to prove it in the regular season. They've done that. Can this be a year where they actually prove it in the postseason, Armando?
They have to.
Yeah.
And the reason that they have to is Jerry Jones has said so. So he has said that he will make his evaluation and determination on the future of Mike McCarthy, the head coach, based on what? Based on the performance in the postseason, because he believes that the general manager, whose name happens to be Jerry Jones, has put together a great roster. And the evidence would suggest he's got a good point, because they don't have one MVP candidate. I would submit to you they have two MVP candidates. One of them, everybody understands, is Dak Prescott, because he's second in the NFL in completion percentage, second in the NFL in quarterback rating, second in the NFL in touchdowns. But Deron Bland, the cornerback, he just broke an NFL record.
Is it 5 or 6 returns?
For 5 pick-6 touchdowns. He's got more touchdowns than some offensive players in the league.
I think he's got more than the Jets offense.
And he wasn't even a starter at the beginning of the year. He's only playing because Diggs went down. So when you have that kind of talent and that kind of ability to bring up playmakers, the general manager expects you to maximize that talent in the playoffs.
What do you make of the immediate reaction from the media groupthink with Aaron Rodgers when he went down was, season's done. Maybe he's going to hang it up because he's 39 and he just ruptured his Achilles, yada, yada, yada. Now it's, he's back, but he's an attention whore. And I'm thinking, well, I could buy into that if it's Green Bay and it's week 17. But week 13, I think it just provides a prove-it moment for him. There's no reason to play him right now. I'm not saying that. But they've got 20 days. The Jets are 4-7. They're not going to make the postseason here. But can it be about the attention-seeking? Yes. But it's more than that based on the timing. 6 weeks in the NFL is an eternity, Armando.
Yeah. I vacillated back and forth on Aaron Rodgers because, honestly, I think it would serve him personally best not to return this season. And I know that he wants, as far as the attention whore thing, he wants attention on that surgery, which, by the way, is not new. It's 15 years old. So it's been happening, but he wants attention on that surgery because he's kind of like this, outside the box medicine nerd that loves that. Also, I'm being told He loves the idea of, I'm on the field, I've got my teammates' attention. Maybe they can rally behind who? Me. So, maybe they can play better while I'm just on the field and not actually playing. And maybe if I can get on the actual field, we can do something, even though whatever. My thing would be, dude, you play at MetLife Stadium. You're not the first guy. And by the way, you're not the last guy who blew out his Achilles on that field.
You're right.
It just happened last week with Jalen Phillips. Be careful what you're doing.
Final 30 seconds here. What do you think happens with 49ers Eagles?
The 49ers are favored.
I know.
In Philadelphia, having lost to Philadelphia, and Philadelphia having the best record in the NFL. Do I believe Las Vegas or do I believe my eyes? I think the Eagles win because they know how to win against tough competition in the end, as they proved last week.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
Plus, Donovan McNabb would hurt me if I didn't.
Speaking of that, check out the 5 spot over at OutKick.com. Also, the great work from Armando Salguero. Good to see you. We'll catch up soon. Enjoy Week 13.
Thank you.
Thank you, Armando.
There he is, Armando Salguero. Chad, as we like to say, if you can't get along with Armando Salguero, that's a you problem.
Definitely a you problem.
Stay tuned. More coming. Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow across the OutKick network. Straight ahead.
The chairman, ladies and gentlemen, of our, well, she's not the president, that's Sean Black, but the chairman of the YouTube chat, and she's also the beer captain. She's the captain of beer and IU and partying, our friend Jennifer, a.k.a. Gritty. Gritty, what say you?
Hi, Coach Dockage. It's Gritty, and I was just calling about Caleb Williams wanting to go home and snuggle with his dog after getting beat. If I'm looking to draft a football player, I want to get an alpha male, not a beta male that's going to go home and cry about the loss. An alpha male will go home, work hard, try harder, work on his game plan, and all that good stuff, and not go home and cry to his mommy. Love the show. Peace out.
Ending with a peace out gives me goosebumps because peace out is the way of the world. That's Gritty, and that's right. You know, women want real men. Real men are dying to be real men. I mean, I'm sorry, but they are. Look, I'm not some macho clown. I'm as sensitive as the next guy. I can't get through a movie sometimes without crying. Sometimes somebody does something really nice for me, and I well up. I learned this. Let me show you something that I learned, Gritty. I learned at movies, or when I'm going to cry, to do this. Watch. What I'm doing is I'm blowing up into my eyes, and that dries them so people don't see tears. I get crying, but I don't get crying when you lose a game, jumping up in the stands and crying with your mother. Honest to God, where does the drama end? Where does it end? Look, a friend of mine made a great point. Maybe it was on this show. I can't remember. He said, Doc, 84, minute 18 to go. You turned the ball over against Virginia. We were up 1. All right, they scored, fine. But guess what? I wasn't going to go in there and cry. I mean, I've thought about it every day for 40, 50 years, but I wasn't going to cry. Wasn't going to happen. No chance was I going to cry. I mean, are you nuts? Hell no. Cry to my mom and dad? If I would have run up, it was with Ken Sterling on Two Big Brains. If I would have run up into the stands at the Omni in Atlanta, buried my head in a book, and wept to my mother under the book would have gone, get in the locker room. And my mother's the holiest of women. There is nobody holier than the great Roberta Dockage. There's not. But my father would have gone, oh, crap. My father would have evaluated himself. My father would have said, what did I do to raise this? Which is exactly what I would have done if Andrew D. would have done that when he played at Ohio State or Michigan. Like, they lost to Gonzaga. All right. If Andrew would have had I guess he played in the game, played about 30 minutes, so I guess he did have a problem, or he didn't help him win, I guess. So there you go. But if he would have come, oh, shut up. I mean, after the game in the hotel, hey, I'm down with that. I'm cool with that. Yeah. Privately. But you don't sit there. See, women like Gritty are real women. They're smart. They're beautiful. They're tough. They just get it. They're unafraid. They'll tell guys when they're screwing up. They'll tell guys when they're great.
Sixth and Peabody, our location with Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. Coming up, Caleb Williams somehow can't make up his mind about the NFL draft. A lot of quarterbacks considering taking the bag in NIL.
Well, they're not just considering; they're in the process of doing so. I can't even keep up. DJ Uiagalelei has announced he's in the portal. DJU, Dante Moore at UCLA, 5-star freshman in the portal. The latest, Quinshon Judkins, the great running back at Ole Miss for Lane Kiffin, 2 and done at Ole Miss, has 2 years left of eligibility to go play somewhere else. Hutton, it's crazy.
Yeah, but musical chairs. And then, we'll discuss this too, like the idea that you would turn down the guaranteed first-round money if you're a top 10 pick. Nonsensical to me, compared to name, image, likeness,
if you're guaranteed first round pick, you should not do it.
No doubt. Chad, we discussed this earlier in the week, but picking up where we left off, Holden Armenta is the 9-year-old who was wanting to be on the Jumbotron, Chiefs fan, and is in red and black face paint with the headdress at the Kansas City Chiefs game. And not only does he get the attention of the big screen, it's not the Jumbotron, it's Sunday Night Football. And Deadspin jumps on this claiming blackface and wants the NFL and the Chiefs to release a statement about it. Well, Jesse Waters last night had Holden on the show, and you get his reaction, and we'll also discuss his father's reaction to this.
So, Bubba, what was going through your mind the second you found out your son had been targeted like this?
It's been a lot. It's been a pretty crazy couple of days. I was mad, upset for him. Mad that he's upset. He's pretty devastated. I mean, he's seen the videos and everything posted. He's excited. He's all over. It was his dream to get on the Jumbotron. And I've had family and friends call and, oh, we saw you on Sunday Night Football. So he's excited. But then everything else came up, and it's been a little bit of a spiral.
Holden, how are you feeling right now?
It's okay because a lot of kids at school are getting excited, but it's starting to get me a little nervous because if they go a little bit overboard, it's a little scary.
Bubba, would you like an apology? What would you like from Karen at Deadspin?
You know, I don't even know what to think about that. It's a little too late for that. The damage is already done. It's, worldwide. Now there's comments all over. There's, disrespect towards Native Americans and towards my family. We never in any way, shape, or form meant to disrespect any Native Americans or any tribes. The tribe we're from doesn't even wear that type of headdress. This specific headdress is a novelty piece. It's a costume piece. That's exactly what we had purchased it for and wore it for. Not in any disrespect towards any Native Americans at all. And it's been a whirlwind of comments coming even from other tribes, from tribal members. Some think it's okay, some think it's not okay. It's a 9-year-old boy supporting his team.
And Chad, and that's from Jesse Waters Primetime. What we said earlier is, and we touched on this with Clay as well yesterday. Turns out they have Native American heritage as well that they haven't addressed. And the photo in the story as well, you only see one half of the face paint.
Yeah.
Not the red as well for the 9-year-old Chiefs fan in all this. How does this happen? It's ridiculous.
I don't know how Karin J. Phillips writes that story to begin with. Even just, I don't want to give it another click, but I read it through completely one time, and it's so nonsensical. To go after a kid or cover a kid in any way, just don't do it. There are things not to do in media, and one of them is covering a kid at a sporting event and then assuming that kid is a racist and printing that is just crazy to me. And even as I say it, it sounds even crazier coming out of my mouth that there's an editor at Deadspin that would say, yeah, let's press send on that one and let's get that out there to the masses. Now, Karin Phillips and all of Deadspin has gone completely silent. I know everyone at OutKick has tried to get a response or a statement from them, and they're not responding. They're going to continue not responding. Why? Because they're not going to apologize now because of what Bubba, the young man's father, just said there, that probably too far along now to even get an apology because they're probably about to get sued, and there's probably going to be a settlement of some kind. So Deadspin is not going to go out of their way to admit fault in any way, even though they should have taken the story down and apologized to begin with. Let me back it up. They should have never printed the story. They should have never published it. They should have never made it go live on their website to begin with. Why? Because you should avoid covering kids, especially kids that are a fan at a football game that are just dressed up to be on the Jumbotron, and then make assumptions about that kid with not even half-truths, with a quarter of the truth of what it was, not even the full picture of what was going on. It's just gross to see stuff like that, and I feel bad for the little kid when I sit there and listen to him.
So just the common sense aspect here is what frustrates me. You know, Deadspin is being somebody has on mainstream journalism. No, it's not. The mainstream networks for the primetime football game didn't think twice about showing him.
No, they
on their
didn't
network.
think there was any type of controversy when they showed
and so
the kid.
if you want to look for controversy, you'll find it. If you want to cover all the sites that look for controversy, you can do that pretty easily. And that's really all this comes down to, is they're looking for the clicks, the controversy, and the attention.
Well, and it's one thing to look for clicks and controversy and all that. Don't do it with a child.
Well, I totally agree.
That's
why it's blown up to this. And by the way, doing it without even figuring out the details of what they're even discussing.
Yeah, look, as disgusting and vile and divisive as some of these sites are and what they're trying to do to people in this country, even they would say, yeah, probably don't publish the photo of the 9-year-old on your site and call him a racist.
And by now, you take it down.
That's where this is just like, there are times where, there's a lot of guilty parties across the board, right? This is one where everyone should use their brain, be rational about it, and say what Deadspin has done is wrong. You need all media to say that, not just OutKick. This is where, and Deadspin's not mainstream media, but this is one where mainstream media should pitch in, and someone who understands journalism should say, You know, I've always made it a hard and fast rule not to cover kids, especially not to assume that a kid is racist when I see a photo of a 9-year-old, and to try to create controversy and clicks around the photo of a child that's attending a football game with his father. Everyone can get together and say that.
Right.
And crush Deadspin over this. But instead, most people aren't covering it and aren't saying anything about it. This is one where I think everyone can universally agree. I think even some of the idiots at Deadspin that said it was okay to publish this are probably being forced to confront the fact right now that they made a huge mistake on this one. This is not one that's getting a lot of support in what they wrote or what they did. I think everyone can unite and say that's wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah.
It's fine for everybody to say that.
And it's sad.
Very sad.
Chad, Mark Cuban says he's not planning a run for the presidency, but he is planning on partnering with casino moguls moving forward, with the Adelson families. And they've paid $3.5 billion for the Dallas Mavericks, but Mark Cuban's still going to be in charge of the organization, day-to-day operations. I mean, honestly, it's going to look business as usual. But he says, no, he's not planning on a run for president. He says, my goal, and we partner with Las Vegas Sands, is we build a new arena. It'll be in the middle of a resort and casino. That's the mission. Mega deals. And he's also leaving Shark Tank as part of all this. It's intriguing on the timing of it.
Well, the rumor is he's going to run for president.
But he said he's not.
And he said he's not going to.
Yeah. And, you know, it's also interesting. You're still going to run the day-to-day operations. He's a massive sports fan and hoops fan. I mean, he's the most active owner as far as right there on the bench. He continues to do that, and he gets to sell the franchise for $3.5 billion.
Well, and look, I mean, I immediately thought of his back and forth with Clay over the years on different things about NBA ratings and declining interest in the league, and what Mark Cuban will cite in those media battles. Right. With Clay was the first thing I thought about. And I was like, well, here he is selling his stake in an NBA team. He's clearly a smart businessman. What does that say about the future, stake of the NBA and what he thinks about ownership in an individual team, which was interesting to me. I think Mark Cuban also has always had even bigger and broader aspirations. I know what he's doing with affordable medicine. And his work there is a big part and a big passion of his as well. So I don't think this is somehow the end of Mark Cuban, businessman, entrepreneur, buying into different things. We're going to continue hearing and seeing him one way or another.
Yeah, and
even if he's not on Shark Tank.
Yeah, and he's not jumping into politics from the presidential aspect, but the Adelsons are also big Trump supporters. And that's another twist to the storyline. What was he was big in a media company, was he not? Early internet company.
Well, he made all of his money because he was in the .com. He got out before the bubble burst and sold all of his companies that he started for a lot of money before all that blew up.
See,
he got out at the right time, which again got out at the right time then. And I'm thinking, is he getting out the right time now in the NBA?
So you want my theory, just like outside the box idea? NBA doesn't want the casino owners owning an NBA team. They've purchased the Mavericks, and where's the NBA going to end up? In Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And you take that, and you have Cuban as the owner of that team after a certain amount of time is running the day-to-day operations of the Mavs. Or he's going to be a big part of this huge quote-unquote media rights deal that's up.
Could be. And I mean, again, I think he's going to be a big part of whatever's to come also. Just fascinating given his rigid defense of the NBA and all the business practices of the NBA.
Chad, Shark Tank, one of those shows, if I see it, I'm clicking on it. Very few of those. Shark Tank gets it done.
I find so much fewer opportunity to actually go through channels or a guide on live TV. I feel like if I'm sitting down at I know exactly what I'm watching. It's either a live sporting event or a show on a streamer or movie that I've said, okay, I'm going to sit down and watch some of this.
Yeah.
Because there's a new episode of it or whatever. The days of me just channel surfing for something, if I'm grabbing a bite to eat at home, I will scan the cooking channels to watch a food-related show while I eat lunch. That's about it. I don't even know what Shark Tank would be on because I don't channel surf anymore.
I see it. It's like 3 or 4 networks.
What a
that have
weird
it.
world we live in now.
Who's your favorite?
In a hotel, that'd be the one time I'd channel surf.
Yeah.
Where
Well,
I'm
that's
actually
fair.
looking through channels to see what's on live.
Yeah.
Then yes, Hutton,
If
for
it's
your
on,
example there, then I'm
it's
watching
a good
Shark Tank.
background show.
Yes.
A good background show. Who's your favorite personality?
I like Cuban. I'm actually a Cuban fan on Shark Tank.
Kevin O'Leary.
Okay.
For me. Not bad.
Davey, did you want to chime in on this? I don't know why we just showed Davey. We're just
I'll be
checking
here.
in with him.
All right, Kevin O'Leary. I'm
Davey
with
helps.
Hut.
All right.
I just saw Davey. I'm like, hey.
Broadcast.com was what Cuban founded, sold it to
Thank you.
Yahoo. That's how he got like his first billion.
What's a billion there? First billion. First
billion.
million for quarterbacks at NIL. That's next.
I'm looking for my first million.
What you're experiencing is the bold taste of a Southern legend. Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey, authentic Tennessee mountain-style spirits. We believe in crafty flavors that were born from tradition but defy expectation. And pioneering a new experience with every sip. Because if it doesn't do this, it ain't this. Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey. Come on. Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey. Taste of the Southern legend.
Just like that, second hour is here. Thursday edition. Chad will declare in just a moment.
Prima nocta?
That plus the weekend.
Whenever
is
I
here.
hear declaring anything, I get very
Prima
excited.
nocta.
I'm like, we're going to Braveheart times.
One big thing on every NFL game coming up in 20 minutes. Did I just overhear you have a thespian in the the Withrow house?
Yes. Shout out to my daughter Evie, who at her school auditioned with, I want to say like 80 or 90 kids in elementary. I think it's 3rd through 6th or 3rd through 5th grade to make the drama club. And she was one of the 40, 45 kids who made it.
Nice.
And is going to be undertaking a production of 101 Dalmatians. She's very hopeful to get the part of Cruella de Vil, but as one of the younger kids,
that would be awesome.
I'm warning her that she's maybe not going to get that. But I will hand it to my oldest daughter. She is very dramatic. So this could be right in her wheelhouse to be a possible future thespian. She's excited about it. I can't imagine Hutton, as when I think back to my childhood, wanting to even do this. Like wanting to audition for something and wanting to have to memorize lines and go on stage in front of a bunch of adults 5 to 10 times for different performances and remember those lines every time and hitting your mark and walking to the right place and learning an accent and doing all these different things. So my kids at times just overwhelm me with the fact that they are willing to do things I would never want to do, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah. Man,
with all the talk about the next generation, being this and that.
Yeah.
There's also times where I'm like, man, my kid blows me away because she plays sports and does all these things. And yes, she's just in 3rd grade, but the desire to want to learn and do these things and get legitimately excited about making the drama club, to be able to go in front of people and put the stress on yourself of learning lines and doing this, and she wants to do that, my hat's off to her.
Yeah, absolutely. So if not Cruella, what's the second choice?
I don't know. Davey asked if they're going to perform with real dogs in the 101 Dalmatians. I said, I don't think that they have Dalmatians they're going to bring out. They're probably like some of the little kids who make it.
If they do, you're taking one home.
Or maybe going to play the dogs. I don't really know how it's going to go. Hutton, when I watch the performance, I'm going to be as surprised as everyone else in the audience. I don't think I'm going to have a big hand in like running lines with her. I might. I'm sure I'm going to be asked to do that at some point.
Next year it'll be Black Swan.
I'm not going to be sitting there like, the theater parents is mouthing the lines with the child. When she performs, I'm going to be just as surprised as everybody else when she has a speaking part. Oh, that was her spot. I hope that was when she was supposed to speak, and I hope that was what she was supposed to say.
You'll be racing from the ball field to
I'm not
the
going to know.
stage.
Yeah, I'll be going from travel ball practice. We've got Ryan Albanese here in studio with us, who's a new father, and we're talking about the tribulations of being a new parent.
I can't imagine.
And it's every phase is definitely different, but I prefer the child can go to the bathroom by themselves and be potty trained phase of life, and also when child is in school for the majority of the day, I prefer that phase of life. But the curveball that gets thrown at you that you don't really expect once you get out of the first 3 to 6 months is there's going to come a time where there's so many activities that you just sit and pray for a night where you can just go home and do nothing. Because I'll be rushing straight from this show to be the assistant coach of a basketball game. Now, luckily, my basketball, the head coach, the woman who coaches the team is incredible and does a great job. And it's a 3rd through 5th grade kind of intramural team at the school. So the stakes aren't overly high. But my job is to basically run through warm-ups a little bit and then just sit on the bench and talk to the girls to get them to pay attention, the ones that are sitting on the bench before they go in, so they know who's guarding whom on the court, and then also to just keep my mouth shut when the head coach addresses the team. I just stand back from the huddle and don't say a word.
You're getting on the officials, you grab the jacket for the head coach.
I'm not even like the top assistant, even though I'm the only assistant. I'm like the
GA.
dry
erase board.
I'm the college kid that has the towel or that's just standing back like holding up, the guy who holds up the water, and just to see if anyone's going to take it. And that's what I'm doing.
The drunk father and Hoosiers.
Yeah,
with the just rolled up paper.
Give me 3 years and I'll become Dennis Hopper.
I'm exaggerating there, but I mean, you should just roll up the paper.
I am blind. What's going on?
Go to just full character there.
My daughter's gonna walk off the court like the kid in Hoosiers, the son, and just come on. Stop. Don't worry about that. We got to finish out this game. Incredible, but yes, well done to my little one.
Chad, Caleb Williams. Prediction here. He's going to go pro. He's going to declare for the NFL draft. And the reason for that is $40 to $50 million guaranteed that is slotted now through the collective bargaining agreement for first-round picks and number 1 overall picks, which he could potentially be for the Chicago Bears. They could do something with one of the other teams that could lose on the way out, New England. Plenty of teams that will be worthy of sucking so bad of the number 1 or number 2 overall pick. And Chicago's holding 2 number 1 picks this year thanks to the Carolina Panthers. This idea that he mentioned this and teased this prior to the start of the season, where the discussion was, he doesn't want to play for Arizona. Because I was one of them. I thought Arizona was going to be the worst team, and maybe they end up being the worst team in the NFL. I think we saw that team here in Nashville last week with the Carolina Panthers. Point being, though, Chad, you're not turning down that guaranteed money to stick around in college football at USC or whatever he's going to try to tease and have some announcement with, which the deadline, I believe, is January 15th. It's a no-brainer, and the idea that he's actually contemplating this based on the fact that he goes from Oklahoma straight to USC to painting the fingernails in a 7-win team after he wins the Heisman Trophy. He's headed pro, and there will be teams that covet his skill set. I just don't covet the drama that comes with it.
Yeah, I don't understand the delay at this point for what we know is going to be the inevitable.
Well, I think he wants to know the team, because that's going to be the next saga. Okay, which team do I not want to play for? And he's going to, through he and his father and his agent, they're going to negotiate where he wants to be.
And that's going to be the next story. Just, again, another giant red flag on top of all the other ones?
Well, on top of the other ones, yes.
I mean, even if I'm the team that Caleb Williams, this kid who's never taken a snap to NFL, deems worthy, that if I'm one of the teams, his dad lets me know, we will play for you, sir, in your team. I'm thinking, dude,
well,
it's the NFL. I don't, there are a lot of good organizations and
a lot of bad owners. I wouldn't want to play for Bidwell. At this point, I wouldn't want to play for Tepper. I mean, there are ownerships, groups, and just full stake owners that are just awful in decision making, and they will just change a head coach 2 years in. As far as decision making power and all that, the rookie quarterback's not getting that. But I mean, it worked okay for Eli Manning, and I think what you said as part of this whole thought process, it's adding on to the other red flags that we've seen through the drama. That would be coming with it. And I also think he wants to be in a certain market. That's also, I think, part of the motive here.
I'm not convinced that he is some sort of transformational talent. That he needs to be in a big market.
There are many that say that. He's been mentioned like that since comparing last year's quarterback class and the one prior to him. He's not talked about the way we discussed Trevor Lawrence, but
I'd rather have Bryce Young. I thought Bryce Young was a better college quarterback.
Pretty universal prior to the start of the season that this guy was the guy.
Yeah,
and
he's very talented. I think, look, I'm not saying it's a no-brainer. I like Bryce Young in college better than I like Caleb Williams in college coming out. And that was last year's number 1 pick.
Yes.
Now, to your point, Hutton, he went to one of those teams that has an owner you may not want to play for, you think sucks. And I think most of the league now thinks that David Tepper sucks at his job of owning the Carolina Panthers. So that could be something that hurts him. And that's why, going back to our conversation with Armando, I don't think it's as cut and dry as these personnel departments are so good now that they get everything right, and there's not anyone that's ever missed in terms of quarterback talent. I mean, Brock Purdy's a good example. He's a 7th-round pick. There are tons of teams that passed on him. There could be Brock Purdy's on a roster somewhere that aren't getting the right opportunity. We'll ask Ryan Leaf about this, because Ryan Leaf, and people snicker at this because he was such a big bust, and he's honest about it and quick to admit it, but he says, hey, if I'd have gone to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I could have been a 15-year starter.
Stability
is what I need in my life. That could have turned me around. Yeah. They could have put me in my place, and I would have been in a better situation. Maybe extreme, but I buy the idea that There are quarterbacks who have gone to the wrong place, the wrong time, or they got in a depth chart situation they couldn't get out of, and they missed their prime window to be a starter, or other things like that happen. I'm also not going to sit here and say I think Josh Dobbs is a star in the NFL. But I do think if Josh Dobbs had been given an opportunity to start for a bad team even earlier in his career, maybe he's a starter for 5 years in the league. Heck, maybe he still is going to be a starter for a bad team for 3 or 4 years at this point in his career. I don't think he's a good one. I think he's a bottom half starter. But I think Josh Dobbs is a heck of a lot better than some other guys starting in the NFL that we see, or even a lot of guys that are backup quarterbacks for really good quarterbacks across the league. So, Hutton, it's less about the no-brainer superstar getting missed. That's not going to happen. If you're that undeniably good, if you're one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL, they're not going to miss you. But I think there's a lot of guys that I watch on Sundays and I think, you can't do better than that. And I honestly ask that question. There's got to be someone out there that either could have been developed or that's on the street somewhere or on a practice squad somewhere that has more talent and ability that you can get more out of than just throwing your hands up and saying, man, colleges are really bad at developing quarterbacks, and that's why our quarterback sucks. I don't buy that as a cop-out. I think the NFL could do a better job also.
Maybe this is Caleb Williams saying he's saying like it's a game-time decision and all that. Maybe he's allowed to announce it whenever he wants to. He doesn't have to tell the Times, the LA Times, when he's if he's going pro or not as of that quote. But, I mean, to actually think that he's not going to take the – if you're in the NIL game, you take the money, right? That's the assumption. You take this because you're getting $30 million plus guaranteed based on where he's going to be drafted, and it's going to be extremely high. Drake May the same way, Chad. Your favorite QB. Or maybe it's Michael Penix Jr.
I don't know about him for NFL purposes. I think NFL prospect-wise, I like Drake May the best.
This new I mean, how often do we see a snap from under center now? We don't.
I also am coming around on Jaden Daniels.
Yes.
Being legitimately a top 5, top 10 pick.
Dave, is he still the favorite for the Heisman right now, Jaden Daniels? He was to start the week.
Bo Nix or Daniels?
Bo's
the
on
favorite,
most sides, yeah. But that's the thing. It's like if he loses, there's a good chance enough people could be like, I think Jaden Daniels gets it. If you
lose the game. Yeah, you're right. Or it could be Penix Jr., right?
He could come up.
Because you have that spotlight there, too.
I think it's really and I say this not trying – it's going to sound like I'm taking a big swipe at LSU here. LSU finished 9-3, I think, right, is what –
3 losses, yeah.
Their final record. I think it's really cool that a team that loses 3 games gets to just completely put the full court press on for their guy to be the Heisman. I actually like that because it does get away from what I think this award became, which was best player on the best team. Too often won it, and they didn't really look at everyone. LSU, their social media, everyone associated with LSU has gone all in on one thing. They're not worried about New Year's 6 bowl possibilities or where their bowl destination will be. It is all about getting Daniels the Heisman Trophy. And I think that's pretty cool for a team that, let's face it, under-delivered based on preseason expectation.
Yes.
Starting with the first week of the season. I mean, it's not a bad season, but it's certainly not a good season when you're preseason, 5th, 6th nationally?
I would have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure.
Recruited defense.
In the modern era, Lamar Jackson's Louisville team went 8-4, and that's the worst record for a player that's won it in, I would say, at least 30 or 40 years.
Johnny Football's A&M team lost 2 or 3. I know the year that
3, I believe.
I think the year that Tim Tebow won, they lost 3 maybe. Now this is way back in 2007. I think you won it, but I think that Florida team lost to at least 2, maybe 3 games. So I mean, it's happened before, but part of me kind of likes it, that a team that didn't reach all their goals can still have a player universally heralded as a guy deserving of a Heisman Trophy based on his individual performance.
If Milroe did not get benched, I'd love to know where Vegas would value him based on the recent performances for Bama.
Well, he more than anyone else had that moment in that final game in the Iron Bowl with that just dropping a bucket throw for the touchdown.
Yep. Chad, coming up, we'll discuss more of NIL and Matt Rule with the money that he says it would cost to get a quarterback, a legit quarterback in the portal. It's in the millions, and it has been.
Yeah.
But I just tying in the LSU, the social media push, I think that also helps. The visibility of that. And knowing that he was also a transfer from Arizona State and does it with an investment in a new and big-time, big-money head coach, and you're going to have the resources available to have the push, which is going to help you in NIL beyond just whatever you're going to get up front from the collectives. I think LSU's doing it right from that perspective.
I agree.
It's the closest thing to like what prime type Deion's doing.
Yeah, we'll see how everything turns
and
out.
I'm saying
with,
visibility is what I mean. Just if you just scroll social, and if you're following college football like the millions are doing.
Some news coming down literally every minute in this transfer portal era. Graham Mertz at Florida is coming back to be Florida's quarterback next year. He has announced that. Coaching news.
I was surprised by his performance this year there, as consistent as he was.
Yeah, he was good. From Bruce Feldman, Kansas offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki is going to be the next offensive coordinator at Penn State. So there is a coordinator hire. That's not Bobby Petrino related.
Yes. And then Kirk Cignetti is the new coach at Indiana. So
I got to retweet this, but Kirk Cignetti looks just like Tom Crean.
He does.
There's a side-by-side of the two, and it is amazing to see the two next to each other.
Groomers didn't last that long. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, we got to get Dan back on to ask about that. What happened?
Solid games across the NFL for Week 13.
That job?
We'll discuss next.
What you're experiencing is the bold taste of a Southern legend. Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey. Authentic Tennessee mountain-style spirits. We believe in crafting flavors that were born from tradition but defy expectation. And pioneering a new experience with every sip. Because if it doesn't do this, it ain't this. Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey. Come on.
Welcome into OutKick the show. I am Clay Travis, your fearless leader. I am going to continue to argue that sports is one of the great unifying forces in all of American life. ESPN is a sinking ship. Democrats are now the party of the white, woke college graduate.
We live in a land of participation trophies.
You gotta lean into the turns. You really gotta lean into the turns.
When Leah Thomas walked in that first day, it got silent, and every girl was uncomfortable.
Very difficult to go back-to-back years in the NFL with the #1 overall pick.
Is it fair for people to be upset with Barbie?
I've been out of LA long enough to have forgotten that libs, no matter how ridiculous the scenario, are gonna lib. Another week of inflation, another week with Biden with COVID, and another set of losers to crown. People don't watch the WNBA on TV, in person, on a plane, on a train, on a bus, or on purpose. I mean, what have you seen firsthand of how this has affected you in the plant and your fellow employees? Under Joe Biden, the Taliban has retaken Afghanistan. Putin has invaded Ukraine. So if there was ever a time for freaking aliens to inhabit and conquer Earth, now would be that time.
We've seen coaches throw water bottles. We've seen coaches act like idiots. We've seen coaches slap other coaches. But I think if you're involved in carjacking, you're inherently a rotten human being. The level of stupid that sometimes gets on our YouTube chat just gives me a headache. You're born a male, play with males. You're born a female, play with females. Don't at me about it. The American people are being cheated. We, ladies and gentlemen, are being cheated.
I made the call to end the Me Too movement. And today I'm going to continue making that case. And that's just a way to further taunt these women, to make them feel less than, to make them realize that this has just become a big joke. Deion Sanders is the Donald Trump of football.
We were directly impacted by the whole Leah Thomas thing, and we were able to see you guys on the ground with your signs supporting. That was huge.
They were saying, oh, it's only 1 or 2. That's rubbish, and we all know that's rubbish. Once those trans-identifying males were able to succeed, it just encouraged others.
Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey. A bold taste of the Southern Legend.
Discussing NIL and quarterbacks staying, going, decisions to be made. A lot of those have been made at Texas, the Longhorns. We'll chat with Anwar Richardson of Orange Bloods coming up in about 40 minutes from right now. Looking forward to that.
Can't wait. And Steve Sarkisian is instructing his local media to make sure that they're putting out the good word for Texas to be in the college football playoff. That is their job to push the narrative that they should be in.
I'm surprised he needed to say that, quite frankly. I'm surprised any Power 5 coach in that position would need the local media in college football to do that.
I think it just kind of naturally happens regardless, but we'll discuss what that says about both media and college football and Steve Sarkisian.
Chad, Week 13 has arrived. There are plenty of bye weeks scheduled here. It was Week 7 and it was Week 13. So it's not a full slate of games across the NFL, but it does kick off tonight on Thursday Night Football. And, of course, we've got a full slate of facts for you and things to watch for. It's time for one big thing on every NFL game. 6 teams on their bye. Ravens, Bills, Vikings, Raiders, Bears, Giants. The number here is 5. That's the number of games on the Week 13 schedule that's featuring rematches of Super Bowls or the AFL and AFL championship games. So the league's pushing that, not necessarily the teams involved. Unders. Here's the record for the under hitting. 106, 73, and 1. Nearly 60% of the time this season, the under is hitting on the total score. Take the under. Continue. By the time we get to the Super Bowl in Vegas, take the under because they have not adjusted to this yet.
Do the opposite of what Davey Hudson would do in an Iowa game and hammer the under because Davey loves to go over when it involves the Iowa Hawkeyes. We are telling you
he did it one time and he
hammer the under.
Cowboys are hosting the Seattle Seahawks Thursday Night Football this evening. Cowboys tied for second best in their record in the NFC. And they're headed for their 3rd straight playoff appearance. But here's the catch to all of that. Their victories are against opponents that currently have losing records. The only one having more than 4 victories on the teams that they've won against, the LA Rams, who are 5-6. What does that mean? Well, they get a chance to take on a team in Seattle that's figures they're playoff bound based on where they are and the talent that they have. Coming off the loss, Seattle needs a big road game tonight, but not easy playing in Dallas. They lead the NFL with 6 defensive touchdowns. Seattle tied for second with 3. Prescott and company, we'll have our predictions coming up. Broncos and Texans. Crazy to say this, but here's 2 teams trying to make a surprising push for the postseason. Denver is bidding for just a very small handful of teams that have opened the season 0-3 and then actually made it to the postseason. Having 7 teams now get in from the AFC will help them, but it's few and far between. When you start slow, and they were crushed for it, now they have a chance to get in, and they're playing well, and they're coached well right now.
What a big game in AFC that I was not expecting to be a big game early this year, but it has become one.
Yeah, and Russell Wilson and the Broncos, hot 5-game winning streak. And, again, playoff contention with the 5th best passer rating at quarterback. Didn't expect that whenever we saw this team in September and October. Patriots and Chargers, Chad. 2-8 New England, 4-6 Los Angeles. The Patriots have as many victories this season as Tommy DeVito has had in 8 days. 2. There you go.
That's the stat. That is the biggest thing of all the one big things on every NFL game.
DeVito.
If you take one stat away from Hutton's award-winning segment,
there you go.
Please store that in your brain, lock it up, never forget about it.
What would you guess is the completion percentage when Justin Herbert throws the football to Keenan Allen this season?
75%.
Right on the dot. 75%. Well done.
See you guys.
97 catches on the season. 75% of the time he's coming down with the football. Chad with the walk-off there. Chargers, 12 players on defense to begin the game last season. 12 players, too many men on the field for the first play. Maybe we see a chance at the home upset here against the Chargers. Maybe the Patriots shock the world.
Has a coach ever been fired in-game? Because if that happened again,
maybe.
I'd love to see Staley just fired after the opening kickoff.
And he still demands to
Owner
call
comes
plays.
down from the box, and he's
I will
just
be calling
like, get
plays.
out. And then
I will be calling plays
brings
fired.
over an assistant or brings one of the guys from the booth, from the coach's box down with him. It's like, hey, you're the head coach now. Have at it. Go ahead. And Staley, GTFO, I never want to see you again. I'll talk with your agent and work out the details, but get out of here after that. I'd love to see that.
Sneaky good game this week. Lions hit the road to New Orleans. New Orleans, they need a big win. This would certainly provide that. You've got the Lions, Jared Goff. They face a challenging stretch coming up here. 4 road games in 5 weeks, and they're facing some playoff contenders. They've got New Orleans, Minnesota, Dallas, and then they take on Chicago December the 10th. Goff, he started the season red hot, and now he's going through a stretch with multiple interceptions and multiple fumbles over multiple games. Chance to get it right, but watch for Chris Olave. He's in concussion protocol, but has been on the field this week in trying to clear all that for Sunday's matchup. Falcons and Jets, a big game here for Arthur Smith and his team. Why? Because he admitted last week's win over New Orleans was needed in the worst way. And Aaron Rodgers is returning to practice this week. He turns 40 years old on Saturday and turns 40 years old 13 weeks after he suffered that Achilles injury and then underwent the speed bridge repair. Not expecting them to play, but the Jets play well when Aaron Rodgers is around. Atlanta, by the way, they lead the NFC South somehow. The Jets, they've scored the fewest points in the AFC. Cardinals on the road against the Steelers. This is one of your Super Bowl rematch organizational stats from the league. Steelers are 6-4. Cardinals at 2-9. The Steelers' next 4 games: Arizona, New England, Indianapolis, Cincinnati. Those teams are combined 15-30. And here's Mike Tomlin with a terrible offense, just winning. They're going to be in the postseason if they just continue to do what they do, which is just be steady. There's too many teams that are just very up and down. Cardinals, Chad, one of 2 teams to be listed as underdogs in all of their games so far this season. The Panthers, of course, the other one. Titans and Colts. Chad, your thoughts on Tennessee hosting Indianapolis with Gus Bradley's Colts defense? They have a takeaway in 16 straight games. That's the longest streak active in the NFL.
My thoughts? Pass. Pass on this game altogether. This is a seller of the AFC South game and doesn't ultimately matter.
When Gardner Minshew's opponent scores more than 20 points, he's 1-16.
Can Will Levis do that in this Titans offense?
If you pass.
How many did they score against that great, formidable Carolina Panthers D?
Yeah.
This past week, 17?
Yeah.
The final score 17-10.
They're 4-0 at home.
I think 17 points would be quite the accomplishment for this Titans team on Sunday if they're able to reach that number.
Titans haven't scored 30 or more in 30 games.
Ooh.
A team that can, the Miami Dolphins, they're on the road in Washington. Miami at 8-3, Washington at 4-8. The knock on Tua and the Dolphins is they have not beaten a team with a winning record. And they were soundly defeated by the Bills and the Eagles. They've got the Chiefs, and then, they've got some teams that they should win against. Washington plays well. They don't play well enough. this has got to be a Dolphins victory to stay in that number 1 overall seed contention in the AFC. Challenging final 3 games. They're hosting the Cowboys, then they've got the Ravens, then they have the rematch with the Buffalo Bills. Late afternoon for you, Chad. The Bucs hosting the Panthers. Pivotal game for the playoffs in Tampa. The Bucs, they've lost 6 of their last 7 games since starting the season 3-1. And they're still somehow in contention for the NFC South. Crazy. That's how bad that group is. And you got the interim head coach, Chris Tabor, who isn't very experienced with coaching on good teams in the NFL. He's a special teams coach who's now the interim. He's coached the Bears, the Browns, and the Panthers.
Pivotal was not a word I was thinking about to describe
for Tampa.
This game. But I guess at 4-7 and you still have a chance, then maybe it is for Tampa.
And sometimes you get a little boost from the interim coach.
Well, it's a must-win.
Must-win.
Yeah, for Tampa.
Must-win.
It's not only pivotal, you're dead if you lose at home to this Carolina Panthers team with an interim coach. Got to win it if you want to win that division.
Chad, you're asking for quarterback battles and good quarterback backups. We could see Joe Flacco against Tim Boyle this week.
Oh, man, this is the matchup we've all been waiting for. UConn versus Delaware.
That's right.
This is what we want. The Northeast is clamoring for these 2 dudes to go head-to-head.
For the Browns, Stefanski, 7-1 in games played after they faced the Steelers or the Ravens. There you go. And they've got the backup in Cleveland, although he's in concussion protocol with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. That's why it could be Joe Flacco. Eagles and 49ers, this is the matchup for you Sunday afternoon. NFC's top 2 teams in conference winning percentage. And that is a key tiebreaker in playoff seeding. Philadelphia 6-0 in NFC games. San Francisco is 6-1. And teams, by the way, that have lost their championship game the previous season in the playoffs have rebounded the following year to go to the Super Bowl and win it 5 of the last 11 Super Bowls. 49ers lost in the NFC Championship game a year ago. Crazy stat about Philly. They're 5-0 when they trail at halftime this year.
It feels like every week Philly's at home. And I know that's just because some of their primetime matchups have all been at home, like last week against the Bills. But I feel like every time I look up, they're hosting a big game. And that's the case again this Sunday.
Hey, props. We never talk kickers. Props to Jake Elliott. 59-yarder last-second field goal in the rain. Good. Not even an issue. He's never missed a game-time or a go-ahead field goal in the final 2 minutes of regulation or overtime. Jake Elliott, 8 for 8 in his career.
I'll say also one area where I think football has become even more of a tough guy type game over the years, which is usually not the case. We always look back and say, man, this is when men were men back in the day, this would happen. Teams in the elements are much better now about throwing the ball and catching the ball. That years ago, you wouldn't even dare try to run your entire offense and playbook in certain conditions. And I watched the game on Sunday between Eagles and Bills. These guys are letting it rip.
Although the Patriots win game, Belichick
the win
saying,
game was one that was extreme. Yeah, that
the
was
Bills
one.
threw the football.
They tried, did not do it well. But snow, ice, rain, guys are out there letting it rip. So kudos to them in a sport where it's gotten not as tough over the years with some of the penalties and a lack of ability to hit guys. That's one where I feel like they're tougher. They play it normal.
We may see some elements in Green Bay. Chiefs at Packers, Sunday Night Football. I checked the forecast earlier this week. Calling for snow early in the day on Sunday. Let's hope the front is late to arrive in Green Bay. Patrick Mahomes is playing at Lambeau for the first time in his career. He was injured the first time in his career and sat on the sideline. He's pumped about playing at Lambeau. And now he takes on Jordan Love, who, well, he's got 5 touchdown passes and no interceptions over the last 2 games. Go figure, both wins for Green Bay. And Monday Night Football.
Forecast that game, by the way.
Yeah.
In Lambeau, 35 degrees.
And
I was going to have to see how cold it was going to be.
Is it still calling for rain at night?
35 degrees, 30% chance of rain.
Okay. We need that temperature to drop a little bit. It went up, not down. That's unfortunate. Bengals on the road against Jacksonville for Monday Night Football. The Jags have won each of their last 4 primetime games, including the postseason last year. The Bengals are 1-25 in road games or neutral night games over the last 25 years. Nuts. 1 in 25. Cincinnati has won only 4 games without Joe Burrow in the lineup. He's missed 24 career games already. They are 4 in 20 when Burrow's not there. It's unfortunate for Cincy. Very fortunate for Jacksonville, as they got a huge win last week on the road in Houston. Sole control of the AFC South, and they could be the number 1 overall seed in the AFC. If you're going to do that, you got to win games like this. That's one big thing on every NFL game.
Great job, Hutton. I do not look for that record without Burrow to improve for Cincinnati anytime soon, based on what I've seen from their offense without him.
Yeah, again, you're right. You would think that the backup quarterbacks would be a bit better than what they are. And it also goes to show, I think it's even more of a point of emphasis that the offensive lines suck, because the really good quarterbacks can really help bad offensive lines. And when a good guy goes down and the backup comes in, all of a sudden, O-line's not nearly as good as what they were. Production way down.
Funny how that happens.
Yeah. Unless you're Tommy DeVito.
It doesn't matter.
Wheeling and dealing.
As long as you got your
Tommy DeVito.
You're eating your mom's meatloaf, sleeping in your own bed at home, you can sling it.
Building for the future. Would we build off of bad options with Tommy DeVito, for instance? We'll discuss some NFL big questions next.
The rest of the world doesn't know this. I have a day drinking day that I have at the owners meeting, and it's Mike Tomlin and I throw it, and it's only for head coaches and GMs. No other media is allowed to come, and the media over time has given us respect. Like, this is Glazer's thing. Let's not go there. And it's usually Tomlin and I and upwards of 30 other guys. It's crazy. But what I also do is I always tell Tomlin and whoever the older coaches are, tell these young cats what's about to come across your desk, because they have no idea. Like, the craziest stories in the world, and you're not prepared for it. Because when you're in that position, you really find out how messed up everybody is. Like, it's not just your players, it's your coaches, it's your scouts, it's your GMs, it's the person in the cafeteria, it's everything. And then it's their family and the issues families are calling. And oh my God. And listen, these cats didn't go to school for this. They didn't go to school to be a psychiatrist. Right? They went in the coaching to coach.
Right.
But when you're a head coach or a GM, that's part of the job. The other part is really, it all lands on your shoulders. So I make Tomlin and all the other guys tell the craziest stories that have come across their desk in the early days to prepare the new guys.
Well, and also probably to help normalize everybody else, right? Because we all probably live our lives thinking, oh my God, no one could understand, or no one life is as crazy as mine or as messed up as mine. And then you hear someone else's story, you're like, wait a second, you have me beat. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple that I can't tell them on this that are there are we go to them. We usually start these fun days off with these couple stories that there's no way I'll ever repeat, but they are like, Charlie, if you said to me, hey, if I told you any of them, you'd say, come on, you made this up. There's no way this could be possible. And the craziest thing about the NFL is that anything's possible. You know, when we did Ballers, people are like, come on, that stuff doesn't happen in the NFL. I'm like, this is a G-rated version of what happens in the NFL. Are you kidding me?
Okay, you just took me to literally the best segue, because something I remember you saying, and I remember you saying it a few times, the NFL is truly the greatest reality show in the world.
Can't make it up.
And that is what you're talking about, is a testament to exactly why. I mean, there's all these stories that happen, and they're not scripted stories.
Yeah. Look at the Raiders this week. They fired their head coach and general manager at 10 o'clock at night and put in ex-Giant linebacker Antonio Pierce to run the team. Like, look at last year with the Colts. They put in Jeff Saturday. Like, you can't make it up, right? So it's just like it's great because even for me, like I said, with these things, like, I think I've seen it all. There was something that happened this year. I said, man, we've seen it all. And then this happened. I don't remember I can't remember what it was.
If you think about it, just
okay. Yeah, I can't
break
remember
your thought,
what it was. But like, man, we've seen everything. And then this thing popped up just when you thought you've seen everything. And you really, like, that's the thing. And I've been around, by the way, this is my 30th year. right? Is that? Yep, 31st year. It's my 31st year. My 20th year at Fox. I started covering the league for the New York Post in 95, so that would make it like, but I started earlier in 93, so that's 31 years. So 95, was it 29 years covering the league? Yeah. So I've seen it all. I've been around. I think I've seen it for the most part. The stuff that's been reported and stuff that hasn't been reported. And yet, every year, there are still things that surprise me.
Sixth and Peabody, our location with Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. Chad, how many times do you think Mac Jones has been benched this season?
3?
4.
That's close.
And now he's
not as good as my 75% guess, but close.
That was perfect. Now he's watching Bailey Zappi take snap after snap in Patriots practice. And you've got Malik Cunningham, who during training camp was working at wide receiver, now taking the backup snaps to Zappi. So it's going to be Zappi for New England and Mac Jones, who's, I guess, 4th time's the charm, not going to do anything but take on the Zach Wilson role as we head into December.
Tough go for the Patriots offense this year.
Yeah, and it's not going to get much better moving forward. When do we get some definitive reaction to what's going on with Belichick and his future?
I don't know.
How do you think it goes down?
Davey let me know that 1921 was the only time that an NFL head coach was fired mid-game, and that was a player coach. He was fired in the game.
Frank Coughlin.
Was he fired or cut?
He was both.
He was fired. They let him keep playing, though. He played for the Rock Island Independence.
Rock Island Independence, and then they just assigned the coaching duties to another player. So he was stripped of his coaching duties mid-game.
So he's like Kirk Ferentz's son.
Yeah.
Fired, but you can continue to
I don't think Robert Kraft is going to be the guy. What was the Rock Island Independence? Is that the team, Davey?
Yes.
I don't think it's going to be like the Rock Island Independence with Kraft, and I don't think anything's going to happen until the end of the year. So I think it's just going to be a lot of Ben Volen, Greg Bedard type speculation until the end of the year. I don't know that we're going to get any real news until after their season's over.
The Vrabel rumors are going to continue to mount. That's not going away because no one's really saying anything about it publicly on either side. It's just going through the Boston media now.
I also think that Mike Vrabel probably wants those rumors to continue.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Because that's only helping his standing as his team is not going to win a lot this year and didn't win a lot last year. It's natural that you want your name to continue to be bandied about as the home run get for a great organization in the New England Patriots. So I think it serves him well to have that info out there also.
You don't want the GOAT as your head coach. I mean, you can pick your poison here on who you go after. There are good options at head coaching right now, some options at coordinator. Some really bad options is what Davey Hudson's about to toss our way.
That is the case, guys. And as we build for the future, there were a couple of quarterback rooms I could have put in this equation, but they're just so bad. I know you would automatically pick them. For example, I look at Atlanta Falcons. I mean, they got Taylor Heineke, they've got Desmond Ridder and Logan Woodside. You can't really do anything with that at all. But your options you get 3 options. You get New England's quarterback room, the Chicago Bears quarterback room, and the Washington Commanders quarterback room. Now, for this New England, we've talked about Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, and Malik Cunningham is technically in that room right now, even though he's more of a receiver. And I tried to give you guys a guy that was either a high draft pick or the team might be able to build around him a little bit. For the Chicago Bears, you've got Justin Fields, Tyson Bagent, and good old Nate Peterman. And for the Commanders, you have Sam Howell,
It's Dalton, right? That's there? Andy Dalton?
No. Actually, we did.
Oh, Brissett.
Sorry.
Jacoby Brissett?
Jacoby Brissett, yes. And I've lost the other one. I will find that for you momentarily, but I doubt it will sway your opinion.
Chad, it comes down to the Bears and the Commanders here. The quarterback room in New England is first off, they started it was a room of one player to begin the season. On the official 53-man roster, when they cut down, it was just Mac Jones. That tells you they got to clear waivers. No one picked them up. They're eliminated from this conversation. Who's the third in Washington?
Jake Fromm.
Okay.
Can't believe I forgot that. Jake from State Farm. Chad,
I'm going, believe it or not, with Chicago here. I'm taking the talent of Justin Fields with a new coach, and I'm eliminating Nathan Peterman. I'm also, Bagent is the Division II Heisman winner. I'm taking that with the right approach and the fact that you have 2 first-round picks. Let's go. And I'm still a believer in what Fields can do, given the skill set. He is not what we're seeing with Mac Jones. What we're seeing with Mac Jones is awful. Fields has had an awful approach as well, but it's been with the talent acquisition. It hasn't been with the fact that he's being coached by a special teamer or a defensive coordinator calling plays.
Yeah, the chat's going nuts. Of people saying Jake Fromm is still in the league. Had no idea.
I forgot as well, and I'm the one asking the question. So yeah,
Mac Jones is still in the league, Jeff.
Somehow, some way. Look, your quarterback room is only as good as your starting quarterback.
Yeah.
So I'm not, we could sit here and nitpick 3 versus 3. That's not how the game of football is played. And the talent of 1 through 3 versus the other 1 through 3.
Yeah.
The ultimate decision maker for me is, who do I believe could actually be a franchise quarterback? There is only one on this list. It's Justin Fields. I am taking the Bears room because he is the only guy I even remotely believe possesses the talent to lead a franchise at quarterback. So give me the Bears room, even though I obviously am not crazy about the other 2 quarterbacks, simply for Justin Fields.
I mean, Chad, real quick, when we were talking about Mac Jones after his first season, people were saying he was the best quarterback of that class.
Yeah, but you know what's happened since then?
I know it's gone downhill. But the fact is they've never given him a good option to work with as far as like the quarterback coach, the offensive coordinator in New England. I mean, could that be a guy that has a resurgence if he gets in a better system?
No. A couple things. One, he's dirty. He plays dirty. He's not that respected on his own team. Justin Fields, I think, is respected by the Bears, and I think he's a good team. I don't buy anything with Mac Jones right now. I don't think his ability. He never had the talent of Justin Fields. I think that he worked some angles and did some things in his rookie year that looked okay. I am out completely on Mac Jones ever being anything in the league. Give me Justin Fields every day.
Just crazy to think about this. The leading passer right now, passing yards in the NFL, is Sam Howell.
That's because they're playing from behind so much, too.
But it's still him. Like number 2, C.J. Stroud. I would have said Stroud.
Yeah, to me, it's in order. It would go Fields, Howell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Brissett.
Of the quarterbacks?
Yeah, I'm going Fields, Howell, Brissett, Zappy, Jones.
Wow.
I'm out on Mac Jones.
You're not going to go with Bagent?
Get him out of here. USFL has an opening. Go there.
What else you got, Davey?
Guys, for our second conversation piece, I was watching Old School.
Okay.
And I was watching the scene, where they're having to compete to try to do the certain categories to make sure the fraternity is able to remain a chapter. And so, I'm watching Vince Vaughn hold himself up on the, I don't even know what example or what gymnastics.
It's the Iron Cross, I think,
is that
on
what
the
it
rings.
is?
Yeah,
Okay.
with the cigarette.
The rings, yes. And
Bernard Campbell, I think, Beanie is his name.
Still holding it.
Still holding.
Still holding.
Still holding.
Yep.
And so I was thinking, let's imagine this was the Olympics and you guys had to perform in front of the entire world. And of these 3 options, which one would you select to compete in? And you're going up against Olympic athletes at these positions as well. So you're obviously going to stick out like a sore thumb. But your options are gymnastics, diving, and weightlifting.
Thank God you didn't put wrestling on here.
Oh, yeah. Look,
Get you in the unitard?
I'm going with weightlifting, but do I have to do the weight that the competitors are doing, or can I do my own max on it? Because if it's just like I'm going to go do something, then I could put lower weight on and just finish dead last, and I'm technically competing. But if you're asking me to match, that would kill me. I would have the weight, on the bench press fall on my neck and kill me. I would throw everything out trying to do a power clean of the weight they're trying to do. It just wouldn't work. So I'm going weightlifting if I'm allowed to put my own weight on.
Okay.
That's what I'm going. The other one, just ridiculous. I mean, there's no chance that I do anything but look a fool trying to dive with, Olympic divers or try to participate in gymnastics.
What was the
rhythmic gymnastics? I think was the
for Will Ferrell
twirling.
I'm thinking Davey of the South Park episode Strong Woman. What was it?
Yes.
I'm thinking about Chad competing against Strong Woman for some reason. I don't know. I think it would be
I'd
hilarious.
lose that one too. I've seen some of those ladies, and I'm losing that one. This is even post East Germany. I'd still lose.
Heather Swanson, I believe, is the character's name. Strong Woman, who's Macho Man Randy Savage.
Get in there and prick their necks.
I'm going to be awful at all these, and Davey, it's a great group here. I'm going diving because you're going to see the best cannonball you've ever seen.
And the best Speedo on Hutton that you've ever seen.
Is there anything more pointless than the lifeguard at the Olympics?
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think the lifeguard is there if they hit. You have a Luganus situation.
Yeah.
If someone hits their head on the board. That's
I'm
why
going
you have them
diving
there.
because it's going to be awful, but I'm just going to do a cannonball and I'm going to go viral. Meanwhile, I'm certainly not going to be in the weightlifting competition, and gymnastics is just out.
And in weightlifting, don't they also wear a singlet? Kind of like
you would be doing the same thing for wrestling, yeah.
See, I wouldn't want to wear a Speedo, so I would opt out of the diving for that also. But like the swimmers get to wear like the full body type things, like the shorts. The male swimmers wear shorts. They're tight shorts, Speedo shorts.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to wear a singlet either, and they're all. It's a great pick your poison because these are all bad options for me.
I just imagine gymnastics with the pommel horse. Very unfortunate.
Yeah.
What did Quincy have to do from Old School? I'm trying to think. I had to actually pause the movie.
Who was Quincy in Old School?
He was the heavy set guy. They're just like, there's no way he's able
the
to
vault, right? He had to do the vault.
Vault, okay.
Yeah.
Somersault or something.
Good for you for knowing the fat guy in Old School's character's name.
I just remember because
if it's not Blue or one of the main characters, Frank Ricard,
Mitch.
Hey, honey, it's Frank Ricard.
And then Vince Vaughn's character who owns all the speaker cities. What's his name?
I don't know if you want to do
he owns six speaker
I just
cities.
said his name.
I'm worth $2.8 million that
Bernard,
the government knows
Beanie,
about.
I think he's what he's called.
Beanie, yeah, Bernard.
Earmuffs.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is that what you do with your kids, Chad?
Movie.
That is a movie that I'd be all for having a sequel. If you had an older school movie and you brought those three guys back with Todd Phillips and wrote something that was funny, I'm all for, what now would be 20 years later? It's been 20 years since that movie. I think it was 03 or 04.
Yeah,
so it's about the 20-year anniversary of that movie. To bring those guys back and do it 20 years later would be hilarious.
It's one of those things, not long, or I guess with Todd Phillips, he did Road Trip, Old School, Starsky and Hutch, School for Scoundrels, as far as the director. Yeah, and then he followed that up with The Hangover, The Due Dates, and then you've got all these comedies, and then you have Joker with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, the Joker's very good too. I enjoyed that one.
They're making a sequel for that. So
yeah, Todd Phillips, did he have a big miss in there? I'm trying to think of what happened because there was some time off in between, but he had a run of huge hit comedies, one after the other that were all very good. I think about him and Judd Apatow.
Oh, and they
kind of
crushed
trading off like the from Old School to
with the
40-year-old virgin,
he
knocked
crushed
up,
it.
and then other ones.
With the group of actors that he had too.
Yes,
and
home runs.
He's not done anything from the film standpoint since Joker, which would have been 2019. And so,
is he doing the sequel?
He is, and that's going to come out next year.
Isn't it like it's something French, something ado? The name of it's Joker. Something ado, I think is the name of the Folie Ado.
I'm probably butchering that, but yeah, no, it's good, and it's really fun. I don't think we have time for this last one. I threw it together at the last minute, but I want you got to sit through a seminar. The seminar is about life insurance. You're getting pitched to join a pyramid scheme, or it's a seminar on rocks.
I'm doing the seminar on the pyramid scheme.
I'm doing the same.
I want to know.
I'm doing the same.
I want to know how to con people.
Yeah, so I can then present the pyramid scheme.
If I'm going to get conned, I want to be the conner at some point. So I need to learn how to do that.
Yeah. Yes.
I was scraping the bottom of the barrel for that one.
Yeah, I want to be the next Bernie Madoff, is what I'm saying. But that would
Thank
be
goodness
better.
we're not going to a timeshare.
Better than being a geologist.
Yes. Coming up, discuss what's going on with the Longhorns and the Texas program playing for the Big 12 championship.
Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, of our, well, she's not the president, that's Sean Black, but the chairman of the YouTube chat, and she's also the beer captain. She's the captain of beer and IU and partying, our friend Jennifer, a.k.a. Gritty. Gritty, what say you?
Hi, Coach Dockage. It's Gritty, and I was just calling about Caleb Williams wanting to go home and snuggle with his dog after getting beat. If I'm looking to draft a football player, I want to get an alpha male, not a beta male that's going to go home and cry about the loss. An alpha male will go home, try harder, work on his game plan, and all that good stuff, and not go home and cry to his mommy. Love the show. Peace out.
Ending with a peace out gives me goosebumps because peace out is the way of the world. That's Gritty, and that's right. You know, women want real men. Real men are dying to be real men. I mean, I'm sorry, but they are. Look, I'm not some macho clown. I'm as sensitive as the next guy. I can't get through a movie sometimes without crying. Sometimes somebody does something really nice for me, and I well up. I learned this. Let me show you something that I learned, Gritty. I learned at movies, or when I'm going to cry, to do this. Watch. What I'm doing is I'm blowing up into my eyes, and that dries them so people don't see tears. I get crying, but I don't get crying when you lose a game, jumping up in the stands and crying with your mother. Honest to God, where does the drama end? Where does it end? Look, a friend of mine made a great point. Maybe it was on this show. I can't remember. He said, Doc, 84, minute 18 to go. You turned the ball over against Virginia. We were up 1. All right, they scored, fine. But guess what? I wasn't going to go in there and cry. I mean, I've thought about it every day for 40, 50 years, but I wasn't going to cry. Wasn't going to happen. No chance was I going to cry. I mean, are you nuts? Hell no. Cry to my mom and dad? If I would have run up, it was with Ken Sterling on Two Big Brains. If I would have run up into the stands at the Omni in Atlanta, buried my head in a book, and wept to my mother under the book would have gone, get in the locker room. And my mother's the holiest of women. There is nobody holier than the great Roberta Dockage. There's not. But my father would have gone, oh, my father would have evaluated himself. My father would have said, what did I do to raise this? Which is exactly what I would have done if Andrew D. would have done that when he played at Ohio State or Michigan. Like, they lost to Gonzaga. All right. If Andrew would have had I guess he played in the game, played about 30 minutes, so I guess he did have a problem. Or he didn't help him win, I guess. So there you go. But if he would have come, shut up. I mean, after the game in the hotel, hey, I'm down with that. I'm cool with that. Yeah. Privately. But you don't sit there. See, women like Gritty are real women. They're smart. They're beautiful. They're tough. They just get it. They're unafraid. They'll tell guys when they're screwing up. They'll tell guys when they're great.
Just like that, the final hour is here for the Thursday edition. Hot Mic with Hutton with Row across the OutKick Network. Glad you're with us. You can join Chad in the chat right now. YouTube stream rolling. Search out OutKick and subscribe to the channel there. Check us out, outkick.com as well. Chad, how would you describe the first couple hours of the show today as we go into the weekend?
Flying by. Going fast. That's what we love to see.
Got headlines coming up, and plenty of headlines coming up this weekend with the championship weekend across college football. I think there's going to be some craziness. Maybe we see chalk with the unbeatens. Maybe not. Anwar Richardson joins us. Orange Bloods is the site through Rivals. You know it. Covering all things Texas Longhorns. Anwar, thank you for the time. Hope things are well.
Everything's going good, man. I've been growing out this mustache for Movember, doing it for suicide awareness. I look like every black cop that's been in every Hollywood movie at this moment. But nonetheless, heading towards a championship weekend, leaving for Arlington after my show tomorrow, and to see what kind of madness ensues.
I did feel like you were about to interrogate me and not the other way around when you came on. That you were going to be the ones asking the question in this interrogation.
Yeah, thanks for taking up the cause as well. What is the best, the no-brainer scenario for you in all the debate about Texas getting into the college football playoff? What assures, other than a win, what do you feel like the Longhorns need?
I think the Longhorns need a Georgia victory and an FSU loss. I'll explain why. I think a Georgia victory does a couple of different things. It eliminates Alabama from the conversation, right? So we don't have to worry about what does that look like, with SEC and Alabama, Georgia. I don't think Texas needs to get into a 3-team tie with 2 SEC teams. Because I'm trying to imagine, can you imagine a scenario where both SEC teams don't make it in the playoffs? That's mind-numbing to me. Right?
I agree, but if we just play the role of best win, Bama will be considered to have the best win against the number 1 team in the country. However, Texas would also have a win over Bama, who has the quote-unquote best win of the season. Again, I go back. I think you'd easily make the argument for the Longhorns there, but the question would be, does the committee have Georgia fall out of the 4 to go from 1 until out based on a loss?
And you've already got Nick Saban petitioning publicly saying that it would be disrespectful to the SEC if there wasn't an SEC team in the Final Four, which we knew was going to happen.
Yeah.
And coaches are going to start doing it's that time of year where they're going to start pleading their case, right?
And then, of course, when Boo was asked about this, this week, right? And they're asked about how they're determining the top 4, right? And he asked about the hypothetical with Alabama and Texas both at 12-1. What does he say? He goes, those tiebreaker criteria are not prioritized. So it'll be up to the judgment of each committee member which of the tiebreakers are more important to him or her. There's just no established priority for the tiebreakers. Well, hello, that's just flipping a coin at that point, right? So it's funny what you're talking about. Everything you're talking about, you guys are talking about is like logic, right? This is abstract. This is just how do you feel? This is not the things that you and I know to be true, like head to head, right? It's funny because we have the conversation about Alabama. What happens if Alabama beats Georgia? People keep asking me that question, and I just keep saying, from the time that we started playing sports, right? Whether it was at 4 years old, whether it's T-ball, whatever it was, whenever you played for the Lions or the Dragons or, the Tigers, whatever the team was, right? To YMCA, to the pros, the first tiebreaker was always head-to-head. That's it, right? It was always head-to-head, right? From the time that literally our parents were driving us to a game to the time we watch NFL, it's always head-to-head. Now suddenly, if that's a scenario, people are like, well, what do you do? Well, I don't know what we do. We apply our sports rules, right? That's what we're supposed to do. But so I think that for me, if Georgia beats Alabama, we eliminate all that potential chaos. Could you leave an SEC team out? All that kind of stuff. Then I think for me, the second portion of it is an FSU loss. And I think if you get an FSU loss, then the path is clear, right? Georgia's in. Whoever wins Washington and Oregon, they're in. Michigan's already in. And then Texas just gets to ease on in without any talk, without any controversy. I think the chaos, though, and I hear people try to tell me and try to sell me on, hey, Alabama beating Georgia is a good thing. And I just go back to, I don't know if that's a good thing for Texas because the committee is speaking. Like, in spite of all the metrics that will tell you that Texas should be ranked ahead of Oregon, the committee is saying no, right?
Yeah.
They refuse, even though it's a strength of schedule, the Texas strength of schedule is better than Oregon, even though Texas has more wins against Power 5 opponents than Oregon, even though Texas has more wins against bowl-eligible opponents than Oregon, even though Texas has more wins in that top 35 FPI than Oregon 5-3. Even though Texas has all that, you know what they say? Man, Oregon looks good. I mean, they're passing the eye test. They're like, wait, so are we looking at eye test? Or are we looking at like the metrics and of the measurements of what we're supposed to be doing? And so because of that, for me, Texas cannot get into a window dressing and eye test, any kind of things, because they're already failing the quote unquote eye test, right? Ohio State lost and was still ranked ahead of them. So I think if Texas wins, they'll jump over Ohio State. But I don't like Texas being in any scenario with two SEC teams, because I think you probably lose your committee vote if you don't vote in at least one SEC team.
Are you surprised Quinn Ewers decides he's coming back next year?
No. Quinn Ewers needs to come back for another season. You know, there's a couple of things that you got to realize as relates to Quinn, right? First of all, he's been hurt just about every year he's been a starter since his junior year in high school. Okay. Since his junior year in high school, he had to have hernia surgery. He had cracked ribs as well. Obviously, the Ohio State thing doesn't count because he doesn't play, right? Then his first year at Texas, what happens? He has a shoulder injury. He has to miss some time. Well, this past year, he has an injury. He has to miss some time. If you're going to go to the NFL, you've got to be able to show them that you can stay upright for 17 games. Like, this is GMs. This is how you lose your job. You know how you lose your job? You draft a quarterback in the first round and they don't work out, right? So you won't lose a job for most other positions, but you'll lose it for that. So he needs to come back. He needs the reps. He's also been rushed. Like he's a guy who skips his senior year of high school in order to go in and start playing college ball. He basically is on campus for about a year or so, and then he's a starter there at Texas, right? There's something that they're starting to feel like, you know what, might need to slow this thing down. So give him another year of growth, of development, staying healthy, and now go to the SEC next year. Ball out there, and now all of a sudden, instead of if you go into it this year as we're maybe like your day 2 pick, go to the SEC, have a fantastic year. Now you started to enter the conversation of, could you be the number 1 overall pick depending on who comes back? So I think it makes all the sense of the world for him, the development, because if you keep continuing to rush it, bad things can happen.
We know the transfer portal era. Every time I look down on X, formerly Twitter, I'm seeing a different quarterbacks there in the portal. Has there been any dip in enthusiasm from either Arch Manning and his camp or Texas football people about Arch Manning and his ability in his 1 year now with the Texas Longhorns?
No, there's 2 things at play here. One is that the Manning family believes in development. Okay, so they believe in the development of the quarterback. I think people look at this thing out of their own lens, and really what we look at, to your point, right, the transfer portal. We're in an era right now, if things don't go your way, kids take their ball and then go home, right? It just, I don't like it. The coach didn't do this. I didn't play right away. I'm going to head on out, right? But they understand that if they rush it, what could happen? So there's the thing, like Arch, when he played high school in New Orleans, played in Class 2A ball. Okay, so there's still, and even though he's a Manning, he still has to get used to the speed of college football and major college football. So that's one. There's still some growth and development that needs to happen. That's 2. And they're not necessarily willing to rush it. They also like Steve Sarkisian a lot. So they believe he's a good quarterback developer. So they're not really to run away from him just because he's not starting. And I'll be honest with you. They feel like he can come back next season and win the job. Now, I don't know what'll happen. We'll see what'll happen, but there's confidence within that Manning camp that if given the opportunity, Malik Murphy transfers and it's just him and Quinn, that, hey, he might be good enough to take that job. And even if he isn't, and even if he's not ready, and look, it would be hard for Steve Sarkisian to turn him down a 2-year starter and say, I'm going to go with someone young. Quinn Ewers, in his injury history, has shown you like, hey, you may have an opportunity to play and get some reps. So it wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing in the world. But the thing that was always communicated to me coming in, and as crazy as it is to sound, was, hey, he's got 5 years to get out of college. We're not in a hurry. So you're going to hear a lot of different things. You're going to hear a lot of different speculation, but everything I've been told and communicated to, whether it's from the UT side or the Manning camp side, they seem to be fine as of right now. Anything can change, but as of right now, he's quite all right.
We have Billy Lucci on the show a lot, so we know the A&M viewpoint of Texas entering the SEC, right? What is the Texas perspective of not just entering the conference, but having A&M there as a rival within the conference, and the hiring of Mike Elko, knowing the resources they have there at A&M? I'm curious just to get the Longhorn side of this and what they feel like they're getting into now in the SEC with that in-state rival back in the same conference.
Yeah, well, first of all, I would tell you that from the Texas side, they feel like they're doing much better than Texas A&M at this moment, right? They feel like they are trending. They're trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right. And so the Elko thing wasn't the hire that they looked at and said to themselves, "Ooh, I can't believe that they did that." Texas is 11-1, competing for a Big 12 championship with the possibility of getting into the playoffs. They feel very good about Steve Sarkisian, where recruiting is at, where the program is headed. They feel really good. There was one thing that Texas wanted to make sure that they did was have momentum going into the SEC. And look, there is momentum going into the SEC. They went into Bama and won, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to feel confident, like they feel really good that, hey, they went into Tuscaloosa. Steve Sarkisian will tell you, they went into Tuscaloosa, and he feels like they had the most impressive victory out of anybody in this college football season, right? So Texas feels really good. I don't necessarily feel like they're worried about A&M. They feel like A&M is kind of in a little bit of shambles. Elko would be a good hire for them, but not necessarily someone that would have just, they look at it and say, how do we handle this, right? I don't necessarily view it like that. They want the rivalry, of course. Like they want that rivalry back, and they want to renew it, and they feel, good about it. But overall, Texas feels like they're in a much better place than A&M at this moment.
Anwar Richardson, our guest, orangebloods.com is where you can find his work and the great coverage of Texas. So has Brett Yormark attended a Texas game all season?
Yes.
Okay.
Last two. He's been at the last two.
Okay. What has the vibe been like when he's there around the Longhorns, period? And knowing that this is Texas's final Big 12 game, the significance of that. And we've got about a minute left, but just the perspective of what the game means for the program and how the rest of the conference doesn't want Texas to win this game.
There's not a lot of love for Brett Yormark because of the comments that he made, prior to the season. After Texas clinched the spot into the Big 12 championship game, they actually on the Jumbotron played Yormark's comments for the entire fan base. This is before the game had ended. And then they said, "See you in Arlington" afterwards, and the crowd went wild. So they've been all about this embrace the hate thing. It's going to be interesting because Yormark, if he has to hand over the trophy on Saturday, I don't know what that's. I don't think Texas fans are going to greet him very kindly. He brought it upon himself, but they've been talking about embrace the hate, and so be it. That's kind of, they like the villain role at this moment.
A final thing for you. So the debate about Jordan Travis not there for FSU, and Chad and I agree. Like if FSU is unbeaten ACC, they should be in. Have you considered what the view would be on Texas if Quinn Ewers didn't return?
What the view would be like?
Yeah, like
if Arch is the quarterback, then I think
no. I'm saying from injury, from the shoulder.
Oh, well, I mean, they were able to get by, for 2 weeks with a backup quarterback, right? So, it wasn't sexy by any stretch of the imagination, but they were able to get by there. Are you talking about like if he was just Malik for the entire year?
Yeah, or
as opposed?
Yeah, just to finish it off with the backup. Yeah, okay.
Texas loses a game or so probably with Malik. As much as I like him as a good young man, he was turning over the ball way too much. And I think that would have caught up and bit Texas in the butt at some point. Yes.
Anwar, thank you for the time, man. A great perspective, and we can't wait for championship weekend. Chad's going to rank the 10 championship games coming up tomorrow. This one's going to be pretty good, just based on. If Oklahoma State does something, Gundy,
never know.
It's going to be fireworks either way. Thank you so much, Anwar. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, take care.
Yeah, thank you, man. OrangeBloods.com.
He was great, by the way. I really want to get him back on and ask exactly what Matthew McConaughey does as Minister of Culture, because I'm a huge McConaughey fan, and I want to know the actual job description. Or if it's just him getting a sideline pass for games.
No, the city gave him the job description. He's commented on it.
Oh, there are many people that believe he will be the governor of Texas in the next 8 years, that is his path that he's on right now, that he is going to run for political office and be the governor of that state. At some point. I love McConaughey. I'm a big fan, and that's great if you can get a guy of his caliber.
He's chasing his future self. Remember that, Chad.
Yes. We need a whole segment with Anwar to really unpack Matthew McConaughey's role within the program.
Maybe more than a segment to unpack
Could be a show.
McConaughey.
Yeah.
Right. Coming up.
3 hours.
Texas is having to tell the local media coverage, hey, help promote us. I thought that was just college football coverage in general.
What you're experiencing is the bold taste of a Southern legend. Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey, authentic Tennessee mountain-style spirits. We believe in crafting flavors that were born from tradition but defy expectation, and pioneering a new experience with every sip. Because if it doesn't do this, it ain't this. Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey. Come on.
Welcome into OutKick the show. I am Clay Travis, your fearless leader. I am going to continue to argue that sports is one of the great unifying forces in all of American life. ESPN is a sinking ship. Democrats are now the party of the white, woke college graduate.
We live in a land of participation trophies.
You gotta lean into the turns. You really gotta lean into the turns.
When Leah Thomas walked in that first day, it got silent, and every girl was uncomfortable.
Very difficult to go back-to-back years in the NFL with the #1 overall pick.
Is it fair for people to be upset with Barbie?
I've been out of LA long enough to have forgotten that libs, no matter how ridiculous the scenario, are gonna lib. Another week of inflation, another week with Biden with COVID, and another set of losers to crown. People don't watch the WNBA on TV, in person, on a plane, on a train, on a bus, or on purpose. I mean, what have you seen firsthand of how this has affected you in the plant and your fellow employees? Under Joe Biden, the Taliban has retaken Afghanistan. Putin has invaded Ukraine. So if there was ever a time for freaking aliens to inhabit and conquer Earth, now would be that time.
We've seen coaches throw water bottles. We've seen coaches act like idiots. We've seen coaches slap other coaches. But I think if you're involved in carjacking, you're inherently a rotten human being. The level of stupid that sometimes gets on our YouTube chat just gives me a headache. You're born a male, play with males. You're born a female, play with females. Don't at me about it. The American people are being cheated. We, ladies and gentlemen, are being cheated.
I made the call to end the Me Too movement. And today I'm going to continue making that case. And that's just a way to further taunt these women, to make them feel less than, to make them realize that this has just become a big joke. Deion Sanders is the Donald Trump of football.
We were directly impacted by the whole Leah Thomas thing, and we were able to see you guys on the ground with your signs supporting that was huge.
They were saying, oh, it's only 1 or 2. That's rubbish, and we all know that's rubbish. Once those trans-identifying males were able to succeed, it just encouraged others.
Old Smoky Moonshine and Whiskey. A bold taste of a Southern legend.
Sixth and Peabody, our location for the OutKick studio. Hot Mic with Hutton Withrow rolls on here on the OutKick Network. Chad, I think when you hear Matthew McConaughey's the Minister of Culture for Austin, you think of, at least what comes to mind is like some gimmick like the corporate ministry from WWE or something. You know, it's like a made-up.
Just a made-up title.
Yeah. So he's got like the part ownership or whatever in the soccer team there. And they held a press conference about, straight from the Austin City website, Matthew McConaughey named Minister of Culture. And the quotes here, as Minister of Culture, McConaughey is attempting to rally the attention and support of university students, fans, alums, and the surrounding community of Austin and around the university, a shared purpose. And the quote from McConaughey at a press conference, I need there to be someone who knows Austin really well, and that the two are mirror images of each other, talking about his soccer team. And he wants to align the soccer team with Austin. When you take a snapshot of the stadium or any given night that we play, you should be able to see the crowd, colors, and the vibrance of Austin, Texas. So anything he does is the approach to brands in the city. And then those brands can also attach themselves to him as the Minister of Culture. There you go.
I think every major program, if you have access to a fan, alum, anyone that is a big time, Will Ferrell at USC is a great example, but if someone that is a celebrity to this extent, then you utilize them all you can. Kudos to Texas for doing it. Kudos to Matthew McConaughey for being okay with it and doing it. I love it. I love McConaughey, and I think it's awesome for Texas.
Yeah, the seriousness of it is just funny. And the cool approach to it that he's always got. Maybe he does end up being the governor of Texas, Chad.
He might. He's going to end up being Kevin Costner on Yellowstone also. So anything's possible. He can do it all.
So Sarkisian's having to tell the Texas Longhorns media they should be pushing for the fact of making the case that the Longhorns should be in the college football playoff. I thought literally this was just a
given.
Yes. Think about the coverage of Alabama basketball in Tuscaloosa, or all of the street racing and issues in Athens, Georgia, or what's gone down in Auburn before. Anywhere. I'm just picking three. Name a place. And you're telling me in Austin, those that cover the Longhorns don't know that it benefits everyone if they're in the college football playoff. Of course you're going to make the case for that instead of going to insert bowl name Pop-Tart Bowl here.
Well, the whole concept of media and journalism and sports media, it shifts from market to market and from website to website and newspaper to newspaper. Because the old look at it, and this is the way most people who go to journalism school would view it. You don't pick a side. Even if you're on the beat and covering a team, you're not a fan of that team. So it is not your job to petition for something that the coach of the team you're covering is telling you to root for or to push out there that this should be something that you're selling. But as we all know, the media business has changed in most ways for the worse. And there are plenty. We just had one on Anwar Richardson, who works for a website that the population of that website is virtually all Longhorn fans that are going to that website. Well, you got a job to do. Your job is not just to cover the team and to give facts about the team and to give information about the team. Your job is to also pull in viewers to the website. And the viewers of that website that are Texas Longhorn fans, guess what they want to read about? They want to read your argument for why Texas should be in the 4-team playoff. They don't want, even if it is your actual opinion that Texas does not belong, they don't want you giving the reasons other teams are going to get in and not the team they're there to read about, right? That's logic. That's what they're looking for. So then it's this age-old question of, are you there to give fans of the team that you're writing about what they're looking for and just what they want and giving them dessert all the time? Or are you there to feed them their broccoli and vegetables and to make sure they're getting that part of it too? Or make sure they're seeing a contradictory opinion to their own predetermined opinion based on their fandom of that team? And I don't know the answer to that. I just know that media companies are out there trying to make money too. And they found the best way to make money is to cater and pander to a specific fan base that goes to that website. And I understand that part of the business. This has been going on for a long time. This is nothing new. I don't know why Steve Sarkisian feels the need to say that. I don't think it's a great look when a coach is saying, you guys should be doing this and making sure that we're getting coverage about why we should be in the playoff.
Or the fact he has to state it.
And I also don't blame Steve Sarkisian for, I don't even know if it's confusion about the way the media industry works. This is how it works when you're talking about fan base media that is covering a specific team. It's no mystery as to what goes on a lot of times.
Well, yeah, I mean, but also like if we're discussing like the hard-hitting investigations, rules violations, recruiting violations, whatever, most of the time that's, the Yahoo and Wetzel, and Robinson and others. It's not insert team and mascot name website that's right there, boots on the ground, right? That's been going on for a long time. By and large, fans want the dessert. They don't.
No, that they do. And
that's
and
all
also,
they want.
There's a different. I joke about journalism with a capital J, and I joke about it because I think a lot of people who fashion themselves as journalists with a capital J are not, and they're lying to themselves. They're lying to you, acting like they are. So I think in sports media, there are other parts of coverage that you don't need fan base journalism, right? And with more important, serious matters, you need facts. You need journalists with a capital J. That is definitely needed. Even in sports, we need the Andrea Kramers of the world, the long-form journalism that is journalism with a capital J, whether that be on television, whether that be digital, whether that be newspapers, whatever. You still need some of that. But I also think, Hutton, what we're saying is there is a space in the sports world, right? This is kind of the dessert part of the buffet. There's a space for fan-base specific media that is going to give you the fan slanted view of that team. And that's fine. I don't have a huge issue with that. I think when we read you mentioned, Charles Robinson report, we are assuming Charles Robinson doesn't care about one team over another and is writing from a news breaking standpoint or giving their honest opinion on it. When we go to orangebloods.com, I'm assuming I'm getting the Texas slant.
Sure, but a well-informed
and that's okay.
and a trustworthy news
of course.
cycle. That's why I like Billy Lucci so much.
There's various levels of that too. We know a lot of Billy Lucci,
who's an Aggie,
does a great job with Texas.
Right.
He doesn't lie about that either.
Right.
Like that's an Aggie website.
Exactly.
So you're going to get the Aggie slant on it, even though they're going to do good reporting and good work.
Yes.
Billy's the one reporting everything about the coaching search.
Yep.
He's the first one to get that information.
He's backstage with Metallica.
So that's good reporting and good journalism, but it doesn't have to be journalism with a capital J.
Right.
Not in this space. That doesn't have to be the case. So
but it also sounds like
some people get bent out of shape about it. I don't really care, and I know exactly what Steve Sarkisian is saying and what he's wanting with this. I don't think he necessarily needed to say it. I think it's understood. Right?
Apparently not to him. If he's the one being asked the question to make the case about it.
Also, I don't think it matters because the bigger point with I'm saying what the coverage of the websites that cover teams are saying.
That's
about if they should be or not. Here's what matters and what's the ultimate sticking point. What does ESPN want?
Well, they want Saban over Sark.
That's the one we can dive into.
He's having to tell his local media to say it, and Saban, meanwhile, is going to be on ESPN anytime he wants to be on.
Right. That's the issue that
Weekly with McAfee.
That's the issue that I have with it is, that's the corruption point of sport and where it's not being maybe as pure as it can be is what does the network want and all of it that pays for the rights.
I will be stunned if there's not a team from the SEC in the college football playoff with the media rights deal and where it's headed with the SEC and the rights holder for the college football playoff.
Well, they also have the Big 12.
Well,
ESPN does. I mean, they're definitely
you still have two teams from the SEC.
with ESPN. I mean, ESPN is all SEC.
If Bama
SEC
beats
is all
Georgia,
ESPN and ABC.
the SEC
network.
I'm just saying that if Bama beats Georgia, the SEC is getting a team in. If we're going to the network aspect of it, just based on who you're loyal to, right, and where you're going to be. Kenny Payne. I don't know how much longer Louisville's going to be loyal to their basketball coach. But, Chad, you sent this link. There are so many ways to break this down about a player. And I'll let you set this up, but leggings weren't good enough for the first half versus the second half, and the coach had to explain why.
Yeah. We have the video. I don't think we can play it, though, right?
No, we've got the audio of it.
Okay, we do have the audio.
So here's Kenny Payne on a player not wanting to play because he just didn't look good.
You ready for this? I probably shouldn't tell you this. We didn't have the tights that he wanted, so he didn't know if he wanted to play. Oh, yeah.
What?
You heard it. We didn't have the tights that he wanted, that we've never had for him, and he decided, I don't feel like I can go. That's what young people do. Oh, yeah. I don't even know. But he figured it out in the second half. He accepted the fact that we didn't have the tights that we've never had for him, and he played well. Next.
Well, at least, he after the first half, he decided, hey, maybe I'm being unreasonable here. They never really have had these tights for me, so now I'm going to play, even without the tights.
What? Oh my! I mean,
bad.
I'm not even upset with the player anymore.
Bad.
The coach put him in the second half after he refused to play based on tights.
Yeah, they squeaked one out against Bellarmine last night, another small school in Louisville, 73-68. They beat New Mexico State in overtime, 90-84. They've lost to Indiana. They've lost to Texas, and they lost to Chattanooga. They're actually doing better. They've got a close win over Maryland, Baltimore County. But they played Texas close. Louisville was an atrocity a year ago, and it started out really poorly again this year. And I think they lost one of their exhibition games before the season. It's a bad basketball program under Kenny Payne, but it is a bad state of affairs that we're sitting here talking about a kid on scholarship at Louisville, of all places, for basketball, which is a basketball power, should be a formidable basketball program, right, in the state of Kentucky with the history of that school, that is saying he's not going to play without a certain type of tights that he doesn't have before the game.
Over 2 minutes. Even the opposing coach was like, that's a first for me.
And I'm with you, Hutton. I think this is Kenny Payne trying to place the blame on the player and on the players, and he is at least being honest.
I like that.
With what was going on.
Because he said, I probably shouldn't say this.
If he thought that's going to make him look better or like it's not his responsibility, it doesn't. Because I hear that and think this is a program that's run amok.
Yes. So the layers to this, Chad. You've got Johnson, the player.
Not just layers of tights and
shorts.
Not
just layers of tights,
and underwear and everything else. Different layers.
We're talking about Courier Journal headline. Johnson, too crucial for Louisville basketball to be uptight about wardrobe. And so he's a player that is worthy of being the starting lineup. Did want to play after just 2.5 minutes in the first half, then decided to play after halftime. Coach is willing to say it. Basically, what he's saying is, I've got to placate to this because if I don't, we're going to lose and I have no chance of sticking around here. That is nuts.
Well, I don't understand.
Nuts.
Is now the argument being that there's some sort of coach-led uniform policy that's in violation with the tights, and he's saying he can't wear it, and he's worn
this compression thing on his leg for a groin injury for a while. The quote from Payne is, these young kids now think, I don't feel good today, I can just shut it down. Well, that affects a whole lot of lives.
He's right.
Yeah.
He's right.
Coaches,
there's a lot of people that rely on this, a lot of people that are employed, a lot of teammates, a lot of classmates. It's a sad state. Look, it's a sad state of affairs.
They didn't give him the tights, but they played him, you know?
Yeah. And I'm telling you, there is – I talked to a long-time high school basketball coach recently, and he told me that he was surprised that someone that we knew was getting into it right now and starting to coach, because a lot of the good coaches he knows that have been at it for a while are getting out because of kids today. And someone's going to hear this and say, oh, you sound like old man, get off my lawn type guy. It's true. I'm hearing this from someone who's not that old, who's saying it is very difficult to coach kids today because they all feel like they have a say. And someone say, well, maybe they should. But it's a different mindset of, it's not just, hey, do what the coach says. I have your best interest in mind. The kid is saying, well, maybe I know better than the coach.
I have it so bad.
So I should do it this way. And I've got it so bad now under you. Why are you the one that's leading me? It's a weird world we live in sports now. And Kenny Payne is basically just admitting what a lot of people already know.
Yeah.
Sad.
Got to have your tights.
Sad.
It is. We preview Thursday Night Football next.
The rest of the world doesn't know this. I have a day drinking day that I have at the owners meeting, and it's Mike Tomlin and I throw it, and it's only for head coaches and GMs. No other media is allowed to come, and the media over time has given us respect. Like, this is Glazer's thing. Let's not go there. And it's usually Tomlin and I and upwards of 30 other guys. It's crazy. But what I also do is I always tell Tomlin and whoever the older coaches are, tell these young cats what's about to come across your desk, because they have no idea. Like the craziest stories in the world, you're not prepared for it. Because when you're in that position, you really find out how messed up everybody is. Like it's not just your players, it's your coaches, it's your scouts, it's your GMs, it's the person in the cafeteria, it's everything. And then it's their family and the issues families are calling. And oh my God. And listen, these cats didn't go to school for this. They didn't go to school to be a psychiatrist. Right? They went into coaching to coach.
Right.
But when you're a head coach or a GM, that's part of the job. The other part is really, it all lands on your shoulders. So I make Tomlin and all the other guys tell the craziest stories that have come across their desk in the early days to prepare the new guys.
Well, and also probably to help normalize everybody else, right? Because we all probably live our lives thinking, oh my God, no one could understand, or no one life is as crazy as mine or as messed up as mine. And then you hear someone else's story, you're like, wait a second, you have me beat. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple, and I can't tell them on this, that are there are we go to them. We usually start these fun days off with these couple stories that there's no way I'll ever repeat, but they are like, Charlie, if you said to me, hey, if I told you any of them, you'd say, come on, you made this up. There's no way this could be possible. And the craziest thing about the NFL is that anything's possible. When we did Ballers, people were like, come on, that stuff doesn't happen in the NFL. I'm like, this is a G-rated version of what happens in the NFL. Are you kidding me?
Okay, you just took me to literally the best segue, because something I remember you saying, and I remember you saying it a few times, the NFL is truly the greatest reality show in the world.
Can't make it up.
And that is what you're talking about, is a testament to exactly why. I mean, there's all these stories that happen, and they're not scripted stories.
Yeah. Look at the Raiders this week. They fired their head coach and general manager at 10 o'clock at night and put in ex-Giant linebacker Antonio Pierce to run the team. Like, look at last year with the Colts. They put in Jeff Saturday. Like, you can't make it up. right? So it's just like it's great because even for me, like I said, with these things, like I think I've seen it all. There was something that happened this year. I said, man, we've seen it all. And then this happened. I don't remember I can't remember what it was.
If you think about it, just
okay. Yeah, I can't
break
remember
your thought,
what it was. But
go
like, man, we've
straight to
seen
it.
everything. And then this thing popped up just when you thought you've seen everything. And you really like, that's the thing. And I've been around, by the way, this is my 30th year, right? Is that, I don't know. Yep. 31st year. It's my 31st year. My 20th year at Fox. I started covering the league for the New York Post in 95. So that would make it like, but I started earlier in 93. So that's 31 years. So 95, was it 29 years covering the league. Yeah. So I've seen it all. I've been around. I think I've seen it all, for the most part. The stuff that's been reported and stuff that hasn't been reported. And yet, every year, there's still things that surprise me.
Hi, Mike with Hutton and Withrow rolls on. Chat, this is going to come across as a knock. It is not a knock. We were discussing Davey with the Predators sweater.
The sweater?
Yeah,
that blinds me every time he wears it?
This, I call it your coaching jacket now.
Oh, this one? Yeah.
It is a perfect jacket for you.
Thank you, Hutton.
I think you look like a coach. I don't mean that in a bad way.
No, I look like coaches now because they dress down too much.
Yes.
I liked it when coaches wore suits.
You should wear a suit.
I was watching.
You make it to the championship, you're wearing a suit.
I was watching Tennessee, North Carolina last night. Rick Barnes wears something like this for every game. Hubert Davis was wearing shirt, jacket, slacks, no tie. I like that look. Nate Oates at Alabama has the same look. Never wears a tie, but wears shirt and jacket for every game. I prefer coaches go back to dressing up for games.
I agree. I don't know if I've told the Hubert Davis story at a basketball camp I went to growing up. I'll get to that.
I can't wait to hear this.
You want to say something on the suit / jacket for Chad?
Yeah, so, well, it wasn't just so much for Chad.
Davey, please.
You look fantastic,
Thank
sir.
you.
Know what I was going to say?
It looks like a coach.
One of my previous stops,
you, Hutton.
we had a punishment, and the punishment, again, the show started at like 7 a.m. local time. You had to wear a suit for a week. So, I don't know, that's something we could add as we get some of these games going. I don't know, maybe NFL Eliminator, whoever has the most losses.
Full suit, three-piece suit.
I remember as a pledge in a fraternity having to wear a full suit to football games freshman year. And looking back, I'm like, it was so uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's why you're the balanced man.
And also, this was at the time where, like,
balanced man scholarship. Is that what it's
suits
called?
didn't fit right. You know, like you had like a baggier suit, in the early aughts.
2003 NBA draft class photo.
What do you mean back in the day? I'm like right now for me?
No. You're very well dressed. I'm saying in 2000, when I'm pledging a fraternity,
and winning
the
scholarship,
suits were like loose and hot. The material was hot, and it's 95 degrees at games, and
we're wearing
August and September.
We're wearing wool, and we got the camel hair in the summer.
Let's put it this way: all the young sorority girls, I don't think we're looking at me and our group and thinking, "Man, that's a really nice looking group, very very well dressed this game," because there's just a bunch of sweaty 18-year-old dudes in full suits for a football game looking completely out of place. That was all it was.
So the
girls in college can get away with dressing up for the game and looking good doing it.
Right.
And they're typically wearing like less. When guys wear more to a football game, like it's 1948 and everybody's in a suit and a fedora.
Yeah.
Or
the seersucker.
Never comes across as well.
They won't let you wear or have the corncob pipe either anymore. So that kind of takes away from the look.
That does hurt.
Don't have the Lou Holtz pipe.
There's a time and a place for everything, and my point is,
now you
suits at a football game, that's not the time or place
and now
when you're visiting games.
That's right.
Yeah.
Where I went, we just wore a polo or a T-shirt to the game. We weren't even cool enough to wear a baggy suit.
Oh, it was just that was just like the pledge semester.
Well, yeah,
it was done after that.
But at Middle Tennessee, Chad, head coach at the time basketball team, Randy Will, who was on the bench with Dean Smith.
Was he from the Bahamas?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He spoke like 7 languages. Anyway, so he coached at North Carolina, and every year there would be this massive buildup for who the special guest player was going to be the day before the camp ended, the week-long summer camp. And for whatever reason, everyone that year was like, they were certain Jordan was the guest, okay? Now I'm like, no way. Randy Will's even playing this up, this former coach. At the end of the camp, they announce, and here's one of my former players, Hubert Davis. And there was like a smattering of applause. Not because it was, you get the former NBA player.
So Randy Will played this up, though?
He was just laughing and kind of, you can't say, this is like from like 5th grade to 10th grade, I think was the camp. And then you have the current college players who are some of the coaches. They weren't dressed as well as you were right now, or are right now.
I mean,
but I for whatever reason, I remember Hubert Davis' reaction. He was like, "Wow, thanks." It was like the awful applause just because you feel like you don't want the person coming out on stage to feel awkward, so you just kind of randomly clap.
The best would have been if you booed and then Randy Will did a Greg Popovich and got the mic and we're better than that.
Him.
We're better than that here at Middle. You're gonna stop booing.
We'll support
we're better
him.
than this. That's also a true disservice from Randy Will to allow that rumor to continue.
He didn't. He
only
just laughed
because you know that, like, you got to say, like, guys, Michael Jordan's not going to be here. We're going to have a great guest. Show him your attention, give him your appreciation. It's a former NBA player, but it's not Michael Jordan. You got to squash that because kids are naturally going to be disappointed. I would be disappointed if Hubert Davis walked in and I was expecting.
And now I'm drawing a blank, and if I hadn't brought this up, I could name it. Is it the tall white guy for Carolina?
Montross?
Eric Montross.
Eric Montross.
The year before was Eric Montross.
That's a big one.
And he was currently an NBA player at the time. So everyone
he's like their radio guy now, or he was. I know. Yeah, he's their color guy.
So and if you're in the 5th or 6th grade, you're like, oh yeah, this is going to be MJ now, because they had played up the game that you can see Coach Will on the bench with Jordan.
I mean, a true disservice again that Randy Will allowed this
Hubert
rumor
Davis.
to have the legs that it did.
Big win for Hubert Davis and the Tar Heels.
But they look really, really good
last night.
That looks like last year was a glitch in the radar where they had their preseason top 5, truly disappointing year, did not make the NCAA tournament, opted, I believe, to not even participate in the NIT when they were invited, and they're back this year. They look a lot better.
Chet, tonight, Seahawks on the road in Dallas for Thursday Night Football. Cowboys right now favored by 7, over under 46.5. Take the under. In prime time. Davey's going to he can update the numbers if he can find that. If not, just know it's very lopsided. Under the lights in prime time, Davey is what?
-9 for the Cowboys.
-9 now, okay. And the unders are hitting
47.5 right now is where the total's at.
Okay. Unders are hitting. I continue
I'm
to ride
do it right now.
Until
I'm taking your advice.
Until Vegas adjusts to whatever the trends are and they get these over-unders right. Continue to do that.
All but one has been under. Is that right?
That was for Monday night.
Okay.
Yeah. But overall, Thursday, Sunday, Monday, and London, extremely lopsided, like nearly, 70%, I believe, hitting the under.
Best through the wild card air, by far.
Yeah. Bad offense. Good offense in Dallas, though. So if you're betting that, I'm just saying that Seattle may not be scoring.
I'm going
much.
under. Going under right now, Hutton.
So I'm also looking at the matchup, and I'm just from a fantasy football perspective, I think you love if you've got Prescott. Don't you have Prescott?
I do, yeah.
Against the Seattle secondary?
We have an Old Smoky Yeehaw fantasy football league, the only one I'm in. Hutton, I was 1-6 at one point. I'm now 7-6.
Yeah. You are the Denver Broncos.
I've won 5, 6,
you
6.
are Sean Payton.
I've won 5 straight.
You are Sean
I am
Payton.
the Sean Payton, except no one traded for me and gave up any draft picks, but I am the Sean Payton of this fantasy league.
Will Chad select the Broncos in this week's NFL Eliminator matchup? We'll find out. I've got the first pick this week. Last week, we all won, didn't we?
No,
I
he had the
lost. I had the Lions.
Oh, you had the Lions.
The
That's right.
waxing gibbous moon, man.
I think, because we left on Wednesday, and you said, you know what?
I bet with my heart
Some
on
certainty,
Thanksgiving, always watching the Lions.
These Lions are winning. I thought you were spot on. Davey gets Dallas to win. I went with Baltimore. They hang on and win by 10 against the Chargers. I've got first pick this week.
You do.
And I'm taking Jacksonville to win. And I don't know when I'm going to be looking forward to a Jacksonville matchup as they go for the number 1 seed in the AFC, but they're playing great. And they have multiple weapons offensively. Defensively, 18, 19 takeaways on the season. They get the ball. They also turn it over too much. But, Chad, not this week. Give me Jacksonville to win.
If you guys remember week 1, going all the way back to week 1, I almost got screwed over by the Commanders. I took the Commanders to beat the Cardinals in week 1, thinking I'm going to get a bad team out of the way because they're playing a much worse team. And the Commanders won by 4 points, 20-16. But that almost cost me. I'm really hoping that the Commanders don't cost me again. This time, though, I'm betting against the Commanders. Give me the Dolphins. With a little bit of extra time, they played the Black Friday game, so 9 days in between games. Give me the Dolphins as almost a double-digit favorite to win against Davies' Washington Commanders.
I don't know if you know this or not, but that was the first ever Black Friday game for the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know.
They're still repeating that.
They probably need to cool it on that, considering the ratings for that game was lower than any Prime Video Thursday night game this year.
Davey, who you going with?
It's a great question, Hut. I'm going with the Lions. I was looking at the graphic. I know you had them 2 weeks ago. Chad took them last week. And so we kind of just got like the tic-tac-toe kind of thing going with that on the graphic. I understand they did not look good this past week, and I'm not even looking at the numbers whenever I know they're going down to face the Saints. And, hey, that's a good environment. But I just can't see Dan Campbell and this team losing 2 games in a row, especially with the extended rest. And they're just going to be ready to play this go-around. I also think this is just a fascinating thing I came across. The Lions' final 7 games are going to be played in a dome. That's pretty interesting in today's NFL.
That is interesting. I am very nervous about this pick for you, Davey, even though you're wearing Lions colors today, which means that the Lions will probably win by 21 points. If I'm worried about it, it means it's going to go the opposite way.
It's a big game for Dennis Allen and company. After dropping to Atlanta last week, they need to have a big win. This would do that. But so Jared Goff, though, has been turning the football over a lot. And
there for a while, he had that streak of like 380-something passes without throwing a pick.
Like 10 touchdowns to 1 turnover, I believe. And now it's like been a string of interceptions and fumbles, lost fumbles. Jameson Williams got to pick up the pace, too.
I didn't feel great about this pick. I think you guys both had the best picks on the board.
No, I like Detroit simply because of New Orleans. We had the topic earlier this week about who we're just tired of watching. I'm tired of watching Derek Carr. I mean,
I'm tired of watching him. I'm tired of watching the Chargers. There's a number of teams on that list.
But I don't hate Herbert. Yeah, I enjoy watching Justin Herbert. I mean, it's just Derek Carr.
Any of the teams that back up quarterback.
Is Justin Herbert going to be Phillip Rivers 2.0? Never win anything of merit.
At this point, he's going to have to win more to be Phillip Rivers 2.0 because he's not winning to the level that Phillip Rivers won. That's a sad thing with him.
He's 30-30 right now.
Yeah.
They'll make a 30 for 30
Phillip Rivers
about his
made an
30 and 30.
AFC championship game at one
I don't know
point.
if you know this, but Brandon Staley's calling the defensive plays, Chad.
He wants to let you know that, too.
He does.
And the defense, at least for one day, was not the problem in a loss. He was clear to point that out, too.
Cowboys tied for the second best record in the NFC. And you've got Dallas and Prescott. You've got a chance to prove you could beat a good team coming up December 10th. That's when they'll face Philly again in the rematch. But if you're looking for a high seed in the NFC for postseason play, Dallas got to win tonight. And I think one of the surprises could end up being McCarthy. Are we talking a hot seat?
I don't think it's that big of a surprise.
But he's not even listed in the top group now for biggest chance to be fired. Like, I don't think he's in the top 10 for Vegas odds currently.
Well, and the thing on top of that as well is they're going to be going on the road to play their playoff game.
Well, and they're 3-3 on the road this year. They're 5-0 at home. And They're trying to get to their first NFC title game and Super Bowl since, what was it, 95? Chad, whenever we were wearing baggy suits.
The one thing they have going for them.
It was even baggier in 95 than it was in 2000.
And Prescott's 2-4 in the postseason.
Here it is. Here's why it could be terrible for McCarthy. They're likely going to be the 5 seed playing whoever wins the A or the NFC South, and we know that division's terrible. They're probably going to have a losing record, whoever is ultimately repping that, whether it be Atlanta or New Orleans at this point. And if you lose that game, that's probably going to be enough going into an entire offseason where you know the conversation is just going to be, you had one of the easiest playoff games to win, and you couldn't even get it done.
Yeah, and, I mean, if you win that game against the NFC South, you're probably, well, we'll know because of the tiebreaker, that the significance of Philly and San Francisco this week. If you think they're 1-2, you're on the road at one of those 2 games. And they've lost to San Francisco in the divisional round 2 straight years after having 12-win regular seasons. Yeah, must win if you want to compete for the top spot in the NFC East against Philly. Back at it tomorrow, 3 o'clock Eastern. Hot Mic with Hutton and Withrow across the OutKick Network.